And we are live. Welcome to the Political Orphans. My name is Nico, and I am your in-house conservative. To my left, Rob Ambrose, our token lefty, and together we review what's in the news. Our goal is simple. We want to show you that not only is it possible for somebody that is a lefty and somebody that's a righty to get along, but when we don't agree, we're capable of having a normal conversation like human beings. Because never forget, common sense has no political affiliations. What's going on, man?
How's it going, brother? Looks like we got a good show today. You're running around, is it? You're a little bit late. A little bit late.
Yeah,
I was sitting here being like, "Oh shit, am I gonna have to do this?" Because I don't know. You're used to doing shows by yourself. I am not.
Yeah, I've recorded hundreds of them. So
yeah,
but you know, I can tell you that the dynamic is not the same.
No. Yeah, I mean,
honestly, I don't care how good you are. I do not care how good you are. You will never beat two people that have good chemistry,
riffing off each other.
Yeah. Oh, you can't. You just can't.
Well, I wouldn't even try it. I would probably, if something happened, like I don't know, like you're in the hospital or something, I'd go live and be like, "All right, guys,
hello,
hello, how do you do, fellow kids?"
Yes.
I'd sit there with a deer in headlights. So we're not going to do a show today. And I just I got to go and get all nervous and shit.
Yeah, but that's normal, man.
Yeah, it's completely different when you're able to riff off someone with a bit of chemistry.
And I've done so many of them with no audience either. So it's not live. Ooh. Oh, yeah, this is being alone and being live is one thing. That's not that you feed off people's energy, right?
Yeah,
being alone
and not
no audience. Ooh, it's just boring to me. It's just so boring, so boring.
Yeah, it's hard to generate that energy yourself.
Yeah, and especially not for 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. That's why you see a lot of those shows are normally half an hour top, because that's easy to do. Like I can do that with my eyes closed. Yeah, but 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's dicey. It's tricky for sure.
Yeah, it takes a certain amount of talent, and I don't know that you want to hear one single person talk for.
No, I can't really think of any show where it's just one person talking, and that's interesting that I like to watch.
I agree, man. You know, I was looking at subjects today, and it's literally an education-based show outside of the Canadian politics.
Yep.
Everything that seems to be trending right now has all to do with education. But what I found to be interesting, though, and that's why the question of the day is: should woke ideologies be funded by taxpayers' money? And this is not just in the US, but in Canada is the same. And you know, I find this interesting because the more Trump is in power, the further on our election goes, the more I see the massive divide between what we consider conservatives in Canada and what the US considers a conservative.
Oh, and absolutely.
Because this is not even a topic for discussion, right? So not only are we not talking about immigration, we are not talking about education. We're not really talking about healthcare. So it's interesting that even right now, as our candidates are doing their best to get, or their best, I'm going to air quote there, are doing their best trying to get elected, none of them are talking about education. Is that a subject you've heard? Because I haven't.
Yeah, I agree with you. And honestly, to be honest, I hadn't even really noticed it until you brought it up. I'm actually really surprised. I guess you could say, well, the education is just not a hot button topic. I mean, of course, there's always people that care about education. I'm really surprised that immigration does not seem to be one of the main topics, because it seems to be that a lot of people really care about it. And I don't honestly, it's just an interesting debate, because it's one of those issues where I think you're going to find a lot of crossover. You're going to find a lot of liberals who traditionally would support, just open borders immigration, who are, like me, quite skeptical of a lot of these immigration policies. But I don't know why. Again, Polyev must just think it's like a loser or whatnot. But it doesn't seem. It's interesting how none of them are talking about it. because it's a big issue, regardless how wherever you stand on it. I mean, it's a contentious issue, and a lot of people care about it, and it is interesting that you don't see too many people talking about it.
But to me, I look at immigration, I look at healthcare, I look at education. They're all the same. Like, to me, they all need to be addressed, because whatever you want, a lot of immigrants are here because they're students. That's one of the main
pathways, especially here in Canada.
That's one of the main ways to get into the country.
Yep.
And again, the question: should we be funding woke ideologies? Like, should taxpayers' money? I should have made it more precise about education, since that's what we're talking about. But at the same time, is that what you want? Like, do you want your taxpayers' dollar to be funding woke ideology in education?
Well, I mean, one thing I like about the topic list today, the broad theme, as you said, is education. It's also seems to be anti-woke. And as an anti-woke,
kind of liberal, that's kind of what I've been talking about for years. So.
That's right up my alley. Mitchell says clear schedule. It sounds like it's up his alley as well.
Well, welcome, because I am a very anti-woke person, like extremely anti-woke.
Yeah, well, it seems like all the common sense people are these days, right? The only people who are not, the only people who are truly supportive of woke are the ideological idiots. You've got, a large number of people who are just cowards, and they don't really support it, but they're afraid to speak out against it. But it seems anyone that I see that's like a smart person objectively or just a common sense seems to be anti-woke, as I see it right now.
Especially in the US. I don't know that in Canada it's the same thing.
No, it's not. No, it isn't. It's still, that I think people feel the same up here. Like I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, like, in person, that will agree with some of the things I say, but the taboo is still much stronger about speaking out against a lot of this stuff. So I think the social ramifications are a bigger issue here.
Do you see the conservative even talking about this? Like, as a liberal, that, because I've been talking about this stuff forever, right? Like years, and we talk about it every single day. Basically 90% of my posts are related to wokeism some way or another. Is this something that you even heard the conservative talk about? Like, as a lefty that doesn't like the woke ideology, like, you look at the conservative, is that something you're hearing? Like,
I definitely saw it in down south. I definitely saw it a lot more, like
I'm talking in Canada. In the US, it's everywhere. Today is all about that. So I talk about this shit all the time, but in Canada, I mean.
No, I don't see it, and to be honest, I'm a bit surprised, just because I think that there's a big market for it. I think that Poilievre could actually do, I think he could. I think he's worried if he talks about it, he's gonna, because he's clearly trying to reach out to the left, to the liberal left here in Canada. And I think he's worried if he goes against, anti-woke, so to speak. I think he's worried he's going to lose that vote. And the fact of the matter is, anyone who would even
vote for him.
No, anyone who would consider voting for Poilievre in the first place is almost certainly anti-woke. You're not going to lose any votes.
I agree.
Yeah, Jason, what's up, brother? How you doing this morning? He says, my name's Jason. When I'm not busy being a hater, I listen to the Poly Orphans. Well, Jason is probably the original super fan.
I thought you were saying the original hater.
Oh, he is. Well, he is also that as well. But this is a show for haters, of course. I mean, really, that is what. We already got that one. That's really that's really the guiding principle of the show. Is just hating, not like, hating in the fun way, not like just commenting on a lot of nonsense that we see. Mitchell here says, in the US, we sued our toddlers preschool and they retaliated. Oh, this is Mitchell specifically sued their
oh
preschool.
Jesus,
okay. That's a cool story.
Got first hand.
Yeah. When he said we, I assumed he meant we in the States, but he meant we, like me and my wife. after they retaliated against us for taking issue with them secretly doing gender ideology puppet shows and then expecting us to assist with the social transition of a 5-year-old boy named Elliot into a 5-year-old girl named Daffodil. I have opinions. They settled quick. Oh, that would I like even my blood starts to boil just reading that. That is, oh man,
Yeah, no, not a fucking chance.
No, that's child abuse. That is fucking child abuse. You can't tell me a 5-year-old understands anything to do with what he's talking about. All that says to me is he's got a parent pushing that on him, and that is. I don't know, man. I think 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to look back and be like, hey, you remember that time when we used to cut off kids' genitals because they said they felt like a girl? Yeah, that was wild. What was going on there? It's just, I don't know how the fuck we got to this place where, like, they got this show, I Am Jazz, on TLC. It's a reality show following this kid named Jazz Jennings from 8 years old. They literally mutilated him on live TV. For entertainment purposes. When he was 16, they castrated him, cut his penis and testicles off. And he probably would have just been a regular ass gay boy, but because he was a little bit feminine, they said, oh no, you're a girl. It's weird how that is, eh? Like the left supposedly is the one saying, oh no, we're against gender norms. But the moment a young child displays anything other than a gender norm, oh, they're the opposite sex and let's cut their body to pieces. You know what I mean? Anytime a boy is a little bit feminine, oh, no. He can't be just a feminine boy. He's got to be trans. And I don't know how the fuck we got here, but hopefully
reaffirming care is how we got here, is by having psychologists and psychiatrists telling your kids, reinforcing the fact that yes, indeed, you are correct. The fact that you feel weird in your body has nothing to do with puberty, asshole. It's just the fact. How could it be that all those new hormones are rushing through your body and somehow it's making you feel different? But no, it's reaffirming care that's done.
You're right.
Having psychologists, psychiatrists telling children that, you know what, it's not normal. You feel the way that you feel is not normal. Has to be that you were born in the wrong body. And then they look at parents and they say, you know what, if you don't do this, your kid could commit suicide. You're
That's
just
wild.
like,
and if you speak to detransitioners or listen to them, that is the one thing you will hear again and again and again. They will. It's like they read a script. It's always, would you rather have a live son or a dead daughter? And it's just it's so emotionally abusive. It's so emotionally manipulative. And the fact that they all fucking say it obviously suggests they're reading a script.
It's a message. It's a message. To me, it's no different than what they were all saying during COVID. It didn't matter if it was the left or the right. You're on TV, mainstream media. You saw the videos where they put them all together. It did not matter.
Oh yeah, yes.
Side they were on. They're same talking points, exact same words, same tone, same everything. And at the end, this show has been brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah.
Well, that's all a coincidence.
And it's the same thing too.
It's all a coincidence. Yes, obviously, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm probably having memory problems because I've got punched in the face a lot. So.
and it's all the same. Like, this transition, as you said, affirmation model. All it does is benefit is big pharma. You put a kid, every kid that they transition, that's estimated to be about $3 million in hormones and drugs, in surgeries for their entire life. It's a financial, it's an economic model.
Is that not insane?
It boggles the mind. It's just so obviously wrong that it's crazy how we got to this point. And you're exactly right when you say it's the affirmation model, because who the fuck hasn't felt uncomfortable in their body during puberty, right? Everybody has. And you know what happened when we were growing up, and maybe you felt that way? Someone above you, someone you trusted, your parents, your doctor said, yep, it's normal, it'll pass. And then somewhere along the line, we shifted, and now it's like, oh no, that's not normal. It actually means that you're the opposite sex, and the only way to do it is to make you a lifelong medical patient by cutting off body parts and giving you drugs that will sterilize you and block your puberty. And that's the issue. Like, if anyone is just sort of tuning in recently and hasn't followed the show for a while, that is the one issue that really shifted my whole perspective on this. It was about 2 to 3 years ago I started to open up to that issue. And then once I did, it sort of opened my eyes in so many other ways when you realize, oh shit, they're doing the same thing over here and over here and over here. And the reason I still am a liberal and a progressive is because I do believe that part can be separated from just classical liberalism. And we've talked about that a lot on this show. Maybe I'm being naive to hope we can ever get back there, but I'm still, it's worth a shot.
Until we take responsibility and we go after those doctors, those politicians, those administrations like medical administration, big pharma, it's not going to happen.
Nothing going to change.
And I see it happening in the US. I would not be surprised if over the next few months, you're going to start seeing Trump and in his administration go after those people, because he was already talking about finding a way to remove the pardon for Dr. Fauci. I don't know if you've ever seen, I posted about this last week, but because it has a magic word in it, it doesn't, it's not going to do well.
Yeah.
No, there's, have you ever heard of the covid.gov website? It's a White House website. It's operated by the government.
Okay.
And it used to be a place. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But it used to be a place where you would go to get information about COVID, like treatment, where you can get vaccines. Last week, Trump changed it. This is a government website. I'm going to share my screen right now.
Okay.
Buzzing. This is what it's called now. Lab leak. The true origin of COVID-19. This is
what a troll. And he's right. And he's right.
Oh, 100%. But he's like, the virus possesses a biological characteristic that is not found in nature, and blah, 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 blah. This is the website. It's basically saying, hey, look, it's probably gone out of Wuhan. So the point I'm trying to make is that we're starting to see things like that, which a year ago would have, 3 months ago, wouldn't have been imaginable. And now you're like, COVID.gov. It's Trump walking between two words that says lab leak.
Well, and that honestly, that one issue is definitely one of the ones where, the conspiracy theorists, they got it right. And there's just no other way around that. And it boggles your mind when you look back, like, okay, maybe it didn't, maybe like, it didn't have to be a lab leak, but the fact that they dismissed it so immediately and called you a racist,
it was not okay to question it.
Yep. There's a fucking virology institute that deals in coronaviruses in Wuhan.
That was funded, that had NIH research done at that same lab, and Dr. Fauci admitted to it in court.
And those are facts. Like they specialize in coronaviruses. So when there is a coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan,
it came out from the same place in the world, just
to me, like
coincidence.
Just from a pure common sense perspective, that would be the assumption of what happened, and then you'd have to prove that wrong. But they called you a racist if you said it. A fucking racist.
My Facebook account is still banned, and that was over that. My account has never been given back. I can't access it. You know how many views I made just my Facebook? More than 10 million views a month. Yeah. And that's all I talked about. This is exactly when I started creating content that was around that.
It boggles the mind. Like, okay, even if, let's say, maybe it wasn't a lab leak, to call you racist for suggesting that it might have been a fucking lab leak in a city that has a virology institute that deals specifically in coronavirus.
How dare you?
How the fuck did we ever get to that place? And I'm kind of, shitting on myself a little bit here, because I just wasn't. I think it was COVID that really sort of woke me up, to be honest. That's when I started to question everything. And then that led me to the gender thing, which was so obviously wrong. And then everything else from there. It's just, oh man.
The only reason I was showing this is that in the US, I'm starting to see again the cultural shift.
That vibe shift that we talk a lot here. Yep.
And can you imagine, like Trump has replaced the COVID.gov, and this has not been talked about from the left media. It's because I look at all sides,
Well, they
right?
leave it, right? They know they're wrong. So they just like,
And
instead of
and it
saying,
doesn't propagate. It doesn't propagate on social media. If you have the word COVID in your post, it won't propagate. They block. They block the. They kind of put a filter on it so that you're not findable.
and
So
and instead of saying, you know what, we got it wrong,
we
they just don't
fucked
talk. They
up.
just don't talk about it. They just don't talk about. It's like this down the memory hole. And but as you said, like it is starting in the U.S. this vibe
Yeah.
shift, and it started really with Donald Trump is when it became very obvious. But you are seeing signs of it, like in the UK, how the UK, the United Kingdom Supreme Court recently ruled that biological sex is based on, or sorry, sex, like gender, male, female, is based on biological sex. Something that we have known for a million years. Human beings have
Yeah,
known.
but at the same time, the ruling was being ambiguous when it came to. They weren't saying that trans women weren't women. They were saying like there's subcategories, and
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
ultimate woman was born
yeah.
that way. But they never said that a trans woman was not a
No,
woman.
you're right.
It's just
They
it's
essentially
a
said,
different type of woman. Yeah, it's a woman with a dick. That's called a dude.
yeah, they basically said, I mean, it's better than nothing, but yeah, they basically said, if you can pass as a woman, then you're a woman, and that's not actually true. There are some, like, you know, we like Blair White, for example, is
Yep.
a trans identified male who looks very much like a woman, but he is still a male. He's still a man, and he would be the first to admit it. He's a right wing sort of agitator, but. All right, let's get a couple of these questions, and then we'll get into
Go
this.
for it.
So Mitchell, just going back to the trans thing, says, let's not forget that the trans suicide rates follow the affirmation model, and that's exactly right. Like the thing is, they'll spin it however they want. They'll be like, oh well, if you don't allow your kid to transition, they'll kill themselves. And then if you point to something like the statistics that say after transition, suicide rates go up. And they'll say like, oh, it's just because they're not accepted. It's just transphobia. Like, no, motherfucker. Do you not
Sure,
think that
no.
cutting the penis and testicles off of children, cutting the breasts off of young women who have no idea what they're actually giving up, and then later they start to clue in when they become 20, 21, 22, 23? Do you not think that might have something to do with it? Like their lives are ruined at 19, at 20, at 21. And these scumbags will sit there and say, oh no, this is gender, this is life affirming care, it's this life saving care. You fucking kidding me? Cutting off the breasts of young women is life saving care? Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, there's a reason why autistic kids are so hot. There's so many of them, and it's because autistic kids are uniquely susceptible to the message that there's something wrong with their bodies, right? Autistic people just naturally feel uncomfortable in their body, and so when some doctor or someone in a position of authority says, oh, here's why you feel this way, they're going to go with it. And then when they realize, oh shit, I've cut my dick and balls off, and I feel worse because you haven't addressed any of the actual mental health issues I'm clearly suffering from, then yeah, of course suicide rates are going to go up. Jason says, when Democrats realize they also have daughters who play sports, half of them are now saying, okay, this is fun, but it's time to come home. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's always, once it affects people personally, you know, all politics is local, as they say. And now that it's still taboo on the left in the Democratic Party, but it's becoming more and more so. I think Seth Moulton, I don't know if that's his name, he's one of the first. He basically spoke out right after the election about that because he has daughters, and he said, listen, I support trans rights. I think they should be, and I do too. I don't think trans people should be discriminated against in the job and housing markets. I just don't believe that men can become women, and I resent being forced to declare that. I resent being forced to pretend that I do believe that. And I also, you know, I'm very concerned for these kids because we all know, it's almost like we forgot everything that we know about child psychology. They say kids know who they are. What the fuck are you talking? My 8-year-old thought he was Spider-Man when he was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, kids don't fucking know who they are. That's the point. They're fucking kids.
But at the same time, and this is, I think, where you and I disagree. I would like to have the right as a business owner not to hire someone that is trans, not because I have something against them directly, but you're basically showing me that you have a mental issue that needs to be addressed, that needs to be dealt with. And I don't want to have somebody that with fair. Mental issues.
I wouldn't hire one, like, me personally. It's funny.
No, but that's my point, right? So as much as I hope they get the help that they need, I would hire one because I know that your whole life is based on this. Like your whole life revolves around your mental illness. This is not the type of this is not the type of environment that
it's not conducive to a good work environment, right? Because as soon as you hire one, everyone now they're going to police everyone else's words I guess you're right. I wouldn't hire one either, more just because like I just feel like they'd be bad for just work morale. But I guess 100%. I guess that is discrimination in a sort of way. I guess my point is I defend their right to live however they want. If they
exist, I will fight their word to exist. But I don't need to participate in your mental illness by affirming what you believe. If you're a dude, guess what, bro? You're a dude. You're a dude.
Absolutely.
Plain and simple. If I catch you in the bathroom with my wife, you're gonna learn. You're gonna turn into a bird because you're gonna have to learn how to fly.
So like you're a dude and you want to wear a dress. I'll support that, right? I don't think anyone should be, persecuted for that. But you're still a man in a dress, a man with nail polish and lipstick. You're not a woman, and I'm not going to treat you like one.
So you want to run through those? You want to run through those?
Oh, I'll run through these real good, real hard. Mitchell says there's a reason why the field of psychology is undergoing a replication crisis, where 50% of their scientific claims cannot be verified and duplicated. This is the same field driving gender madness. Completely correct. Completely correct. I think there's value in the field of psychology, but I think somewhere along the line we treat
not
it
affirming care.
No, not that part. Not that part. I'm just talking about.
Yeah, but that's what psychology is. Do you know in Canada that it's not allowed for you to do a more Jungian approach, which Carl Jung redefined psychology by connecting it to the subconscious mind and to the dream analysis, but you can't even do that anymore. It's illegal in Canada not to do reaffirming care. It's
they'll tell it. They'll call it conversion therapy. And yet taking a young gay teenager and cutting his balls off, calling him a woman, and making him straight is not conversion therapy. Like fuck out of here. No. But I agree with your point about psychology. I just think in general psychology has some use, not the gender part of it at all. Yeah. But it should be relegated.
What the psychology is now today.
It should be relegated. It should not be considered a science. There's nothing sciencey about it. It's more like philosophy, if you want to call it that.
You could say it that way. You could definitely see it that way.
Jason says, "What a stupid dichotomy on their part. These are my only two options. This is like choosing between getting raped by Jack the Ripper and getting fingered by Captain Hook." Yeah, I mean, that would. That would.
Captain Hook, God damn, you are a dirty bastard.
Yeah, but if you use his left hand, maybe it could work.
Yeah, exactly.
Which hand are you using? Because that's going to make all the difference.
Good point.
Mitchell says it also benefits ideologies that are anti-American and anti-capitalism. Yeah, it's just bad all around. It is. It's hard to see it as anything other than a fucking a grenade, a hand grenade dropped in the middle of society to cause division and destruction. Yep. Mitchell says, notice how many people pushing gender nonsense also align on the communism spectrum, Marxism, socialism, communism. Yeah, completely. Yeah. Again,
but one is part of the other. This is all 100%. Like, I don't remember who explained it, but the author was explaining how brilliant DEI and wokeism is, because instead of making it about hard facts like haves and have-nots, they do it about psychology, which can be changed on a daily basis. You can make it about whatever you want. So when you start polarizing people on something that is not tangible, like I cannot afford to live, or those people have all the money, which is the haves and the have-not that communism is based upon, at least Marxism is based upon. Yep. Now they switched it into a psychological context where it can be changed and molded to whatever.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? It can be whatever you want it to be. Whatever.
It's brilliant when you look at it. It's evil brilliant. evilly
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, I don't know how you say that, but it's so brilliant that it's fucking evil. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, like you said, like an evil villain kind of way. Jay says vaccines are safe and effective. Your red, white, and blue cloth is a safe mask, and social distancing is social. If you have not had your 9th booster yet, go to hell. Absolutely correct, YouTube. That is what he's speaking. Ultra Turf CA says
Thank you, Jason, for
you
reminding
stated.
us.
She says you stated trans person. So what is that? Trans is a lie. Well, yeah, trans people exist. So does schizophrenic people. So do people with people with mental illnesses exist. A trans person is just a person with a mental illness that makes them believe that they are the opposite sex.
Yeah.
So is there a third category of human called trans? Why are you saying it? Clearly, you've never actually looked at my ex. Literally, the vast majority of what I post about is exactly these things. Of course, there's not a third category of human. There's male and female. Trans people are either mentally ill or many of them are. There's a subcategory of them that are like autogynephiles, which is essentially what we used to call transvestites. Just men who get off that it's a sexual fetish for them to pretend that they are a woman. I don't even think those ones actually believe they're women, to be honest. I just think this whole ideology, they're ecstatic about it because it's allowed them to live out their fetish in public. Now, before they had to hide it, they had to do it in secret. Now they get to do it in public. And so that's what that's all about. Jason says Rob said the S word skit. So yeah, no, my point was I was just responding to Ultra Turf was saying like,
but it is, but you know what? As per the DS5,
it's a mental illness.
It's a mental illness.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. There's no third type of humans.
Yep.
But there are humans with mental issues.
Well,
and
yeah, of course.
Definitely. And calling them by their name, trans, is just identifying him as.
Yeah, exactly. Just like if someone is schizophrenic and they have delusions about, whatever they see in the reality, I don't feel like I have to pretend to, talk to their imaginary friends. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that schizophrenic people actually exist. Of course they do.
So all to say, the last 30 minutes was just all to say that I see a cultural shift in the US.
Yeah.
I don't see it in Canada. And even right in the middle of our election, we're still not seeing it. They're not talking about this. I've been told from behind the scenes that Pierre Poilievre does not believe in those things and that he will do something about it once he's elected. But it's such a weak standpoint that I don't believe it until I see it. And if you didn't stand for it, while all your base is against wokeism, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's low hanging fruit, right? It's just it's easy. It makes you wonder, kind of like why they're not doing it. As you said, you're not really seeing it in Canada, but I do believe that we will soon. Like we're always lagging the US. We always follow America's lead, despite all this elbows up and us this belief that we're this independent entity. That is not actually true. We don't even realize how influenced we are by America. Of course we are. Just by their size. The
world is influenced by their culture.
You always hear people say, like, oh, America doesn't have culture. It's like, no, they do. It's just their culture is so strong, so influential. People don't see it as culture. Like blue jeans.
What's Hollywood? What's all Hollywood, the movies?
Right? Everyone's watching American movies. Everyone wears blue jeans. No one sees that as culture because it's just so common. But that absolutely is. Rock and roll. Fucking just there's.
I agree, man.
Yeah, it's just,
transgenderism.
Yeah, that's spread. Like everything comes out of the U.S.
That comes from there.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the backlash started also in America, and that too will spread.
Of course, they're opening up the door.
Yep,
they open up the door.
Joe says next week they'll start giving people who say they are Jesus their own churches. It's the same thing, right? Exactly. Suggestion: use true instead of trans because by using the faux lexicon, you reinforce the trans.
No, but see, do you remember when we had the Billboard Chris? He said something similar to that he refuses to use those words.
Yeah,
similar to what he's saying because you're reinforcing.
I hear the argument. I just think if you're trying to actually convince people who do believe it, I think if they perceive you as just being a dick, they're more likely to tune you out. I agree with the broad idea that language does matter. That's why I would never use like female pronouns for a man, or say, you know, anything remotely similar to like trans women. I won't even call them trans women. I'll say a trans identified male or a trans person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think there's an issue with that.
So here's one thing that popped on my feed. I wanted to talk about it later on, but I might do it today. Do you know Jasmine Lane, Canada? I was supposed to have her on my show. She canceled, but I understand why she canceled.
Okay.
But
what's her deal?
she used to be with, I believe, she was with another big broadcaster in Canada. I can't remember which one it is.
Okay.
And she left a little while ago. She actually just posted a video of her sitting down with Pierre Poliev.
Interesting.
And
is she a podcaster or a journalist?
She is the host. I'm reading her bio right now. She is the host of Over Opinionated, former award-winning broadcaster who got tired of being silenced, public speaker, observant. She is a very big conservative. She is a very big conservative supporter, like very, very big, as in big C, not small c, big C.
Okay.
Because I don't believe that we have real conservatives in Canada. We've been through this a million times. But it's just fun. It's just interesting because I was looking at the comments, and people are just ripping into her, like just ripping into her. And not because she did the interview, but because they all know that it's going to be a very softball interview. And that the only people that he sits down with are people that are for him. Nobody that's going to challenge him. He's not going to record any type of content with people that will challenge his ideas. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Mark Carney's the same. I'm not saying that he's any different. They're all the same. They don't have the balls to fucking sit down.
I don't understand why. Like Polyev has, like we were just talking about, like there's so much ability.
Like this, what we've been talking about right now is right down his alley. All the videos that I have today,
sound bites,
all down his alley. You know, let's go to the first video. The first video is about what's going on with Harvard. Harvard is suing the Trump administration over them freezing $2.2 billion in assets. Not in assets, but in funds, sorry. I got two videos. I got a video from the left and I got a video from the right, just to show you kind of the difference between the two. But, you know, it was interesting because until this morning, I wasn't sure, like, why the fuck do they even care about that 2.2 billion? Because it's a multi-year thing. It's not just this year, and their endowment is something around $50.2 billion that they have in reserve. Like,
yeah, exactly. What do you fucking you can't have it both ways. If you don't want to accept their, like, if you accept their money, then they're gonna have a say in what's going on in campus.
But hold on for the video, because that's not the point. The point is that I could not understand why they even cared. Like, why do you care when you have an endowment of $53.2 billion? That's the reserve that they have. And I'm like, why do we care about 2.2 billion? I did a shit ton of research this morning, and I can show to you why they care. And I understand now why they're so pissed off. But let's start with two videos. I got a video from the left. MSNBC, if I'm not mistaken, is the first video. I'm going to play it right now. And then I got one from Fox with one of the guys, one of the member of Congress that actually sits on the educational board. So you'll see it's very, very fucking interesting. But the two differences are night and day. But Harvard has said that they're going to sue Trump. Here's what the left has to say about it.
We should also tell you Harvard suing the Trump administration following the White House freezing billions of dollars in grants that was earmarked for the school. The lawsuit accuses the administration of flouting the First Amendment and asks a federal judge to declare President Trump's freeze order unconstitutional. Harvard argues that the move was not related to anti-Semitism concerns that the administration has cited. That lawsuit, in part, says, make no mistake, Harvard rejects anti-Semitism and discrimination in all of its forms and is actively making structural reforms to eradicate anti-Semitism on campus. But rather than engage with Harvard regarding those ongoing efforts, reports. The government announced a sweeping freeze of funding for medical, scientific, technological, and other research that has nothing at all to do with anti-Semitism. In a new statement, a White House spokesperson says taxpayer funds are a privilege, and Harvard fails to meet the basic conditions required to access that privilege.
Yeah. Yep.
We should talk about this. The thing, and I don't know, Becky, how you feel about it, though. We've talked about the anti-Semitism piece.
Remember, this is MSNBC,
for
right?
weeks on end.
I don't think it's a surprise.
If you look at what the government has said and what the president has said as it relates to Harvard, anti-Semitism is only a small part of it. What they're really trying to do is change the structure of Harvard and change who they hire, how they hire, what they do, and a lot of it has to do with ideological beliefs. And he has made it clear that it's actually in large part about ideological beliefs, about the profession.
Hold on. I just want to jump in for one quick second. It isn't about ideological beliefs. It's about stopping ideological beliefs. And again,
no, he's basically calling Trump's administration's ideology different. That's all he's saying. He's basically saying that's why I understand what you're saying.
Do you think he's agreeing with Trump here, or is he agreeing with Harvard?
No, he's agreeing with Harvard. It's MSNBC.
Okay, yeah.
The only one that really is against it, you'll see, is the third guy. Because at one point, he's like, okay, I don't understand. He's very similar to, I think, to Jason. Because Jason also doesn't understand this one. But it has nothing to do with free speech. It has nothing to do with, they're making it about anti-Semitism. But that is just a portion of it. The real reason they said it, from the get-go, it wasn't even anti-Semitism. It was about DEI. That's the label they put on it from the get-go. So you'll see how full of shit they are. And then I have Fox News, which is on the complete other side, with a member of parliament, Congress, that actually sits on that board that will talk about it. So you'll see. You can continue the video.
Professors that are being hired, the students that are being recruited, all of those things. That is where the free speech piece of this,
but that's not free speech,
is complicated.
No.
That is where the free speech piece
you have a
of this
right
is
to $2 billion taxpayer.
Look, about six things, at least 6 institutional entities in mind that he is not happy with and wants to disrupt, including media, including law firms.
Correct.
Including,
and I think, and we'll see what courts ultimately think, that perspective is not constitutional.
Not to say that
this is so funny because they're talking about it like Harvard is entitled to that money.
Yeah.
If NPR is spreading bullshit or biased information, which they do all the time, I listen to them all the time when I'm in the US. They're very left-leaning. It's not a fucking surprise. If the government does not want to support them with taxpayers' money because they will only support people they deem to be unbiased, fuck you. It's not a right for you to be sponsored by the state. So I love how it's unconstitutional, but it has not, nobody's preventing you. There's a massive difference between you're not allowed to say this and you're not allowed to say this when I'm giving you billions of dollars.
Yeah, exactly. It's real easy. If you don't accept the money, you can do whatever the fuck you want. They're a private university.
Don't give a fuck.
But if you do, then the government's gonna have some say. So it's just, pick one option, pick one or the other. It's chicken or fish. It's not that difficult.
No, and you'll see I got a case afterwards that's going to the Supreme Court where parents are trying to opt out of this, and they have to go to the Supreme Court. Which one do you think is unconstitutional? I can't have access to my $2.2 billion because I believe in DEI, or a taxpayer's parent wants to take their kids out of certain classes because they don't agree with the ideology that they're pushing. Well, guess what? Yeah. It's the second one with the parents. And it ain't Harvard's lack of $2.2 billion.
And it's funny because he's framing about like discrimination.
Of course,
that's what the push against DEI is trying to stop, because people have recognized that it is discrimination. Like,
why do you hate women so much, Rob?
You can't say it's okay if it's the right kind of discrimination. If it discriminates against the right kind of people, then it's okay. That's just
acceptable.
That's a nonsensical argument, and people are starting to see it that way.
Agreed.
I don't agree that the Ivy League and a lot of higher institutions have totally lost their way, and I don't like what's happening to
I'm not saying that they're perfect. I think they can
see. No, but hear what he just said.
I think he's trying to say he's trying to give them a little bit of due, right? And then he's going to shit on them.
You'll see.
Okay.
Higher institutions have totally lost their way, and I don't like what's happening to
I'm not saying that they're perfect. I think they can be a lot
they're not
better.
just not perfect; they're hideous in terms of who's hired and the
that guy didn't know
that's a lefty.
the dogma that's institutionalized.
Once you're in, you can't get fired. Right.
Why do you think we have such problems with anti-Semitism? Because all these wacky, crazy stuff is institutionalized.
I
at these
agree
places,
with you.
and that's who you hire, and it's incestuous. And then the people that you hired 20 years ago that were like that are hiring more people that are like. So what do? You just let it continue? And
well, first of all, I think it's actually
He's a
50.
common
you know who
sense
you
guy.
can ask? Linda McMahon, to see whether saying that it's a privilege to get taxpayer grants and taxpayer dollars. I don't know if you can argue that on First Amendment grounds. They can say whatever they want. You just don't get any taxpayer money if you're going to do that.
It's so common sense.
What you're doing by targeting in particular the science funding, the National Institutes of Health, the national science funding that comes.
It's the government, taxpayer dollars.
But go even further than that. So you're telling me that because you're going to see, I got other information as per. Not only is the Trump administration going after DEI, but so is the NIH. NIH is talking about removing grants, any science grants from schools that endorse DEI. And let's not lie to each other here. The people that believe that men can be women are also the same schools that are pushing DEI.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm saying? So
100%.
Is that where I want scientific research to be conducted?
Absolutely
Fuck
not.
no.
Absolutely.
So you see where they were going on the left, and it's funny because you got a guy like, I don't know what the name of the guy on the right was, but he's like a Jennings. That's like, hey,
yeah. He's
like,
common. I think he came over from the business side. I think he used to be on CNBC or something. But yeah, he's a common sense guy. The thing about all this stuff is, at the end of the day, Donald Trump was absolutely elected in part to push back against things like DEI.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what he's doing. And we keep going back to elections have consequences. If you don't like it, then do better next time. And make a persuasive argument and convince people to join your side. But just because we said so is not going to cut it anymore.
So here is that was the left-leaning one. So you can see that outside of the guy that's on the right, that's more common sense type of guy. They're pushing the free speech aspect, right? Oh, it's about free speech. It's about free speech. Here's what Fox had to say about this.
Always, I appreciate your attempted generosity. Meantime, Harvard has just sued the Trump administration, claiming its constitutional rights were violated after federal funds were frozen. Harvard's president saying in a statement, quote, "We filed a lawsuit to halt the funding freeze because it is unlawful and beyond the government's authority.
The government doesn't have the authority
consequences of
to
the government's
choose how they spend their money?
will be severe and long-lasting." Florida Congressman, newly elected Congressman Randy Fine, sits on the House Education Workforce Committee, is also a Harvard alum. He joins me now. Congressman, great to have you here in person. You are also Jewish. So what is your reaction, being a Harvard alum, being a Jewish?
So the guy's Jewish. He's from Florida, and he graduated at Harvard.
And he's on Fox.
And he's a Republican.
And he's on Fox. So you already know what he's going to say.
You think?
Yeah.
American to Harvard's lawsuit, basically doubling down and saying you, the Trump administration, and Donald Trump can't do this legally.
Well, I think they're wrong, and I think it's unfortunate. Look, I was a proud graduate of Harvard. It's what took a poor kid from Kentucky and allowed me to get elected to Congress. We have to respect the fact that private institutions can run themselves how they want, but those private institutions have to accept they're not entitled to federal funds. And that's the decision Harvard's going to make.
It's just an obvious
point. Down the
point.
path they've gone where they don't protect Jewish students, where they embrace anti-Semitism, or do they want to work with the Trump administration and we all work forward together? I hope they choose the latter path, but yesterday's decision was not promising.
And just quickly, like, in that statement that Harvard said, they're like, oh, we firmly are against anti-Semitism and blah blah. Well, yeah, it's easy to say that in a statement, but everyone saw with their own eyes that you turned a blind eye when Jewish students were being harassed trying to get to class all last year. Like, actions have consequences. If you're going to allow that kind of shit on your campus, don't be surprised when people take issue with it. They take offense to it, and then when the guy who gets elected, who says, I'm gonna go against this shit, I'm gonna start pushing back, starts actually pushing back, starts doing the things that he said he's gonna do. Like, why are you shocked?
Words mimic basically what the White House is saying. A White House spokesperson responding, quote, the gravy train of federal assistance to institutions like Harvard is coming to an end. Taxpayer funds are a privilege, and Harvard fails to meet the basic conditions required to access that privilege.
Can't argue it.
Big picture here, beyond Harvard. Do you think taxpayer dollars should be going to Harvard and other schools in the huge sums that we have grown accustomed to, and specifically these universities have grown accustomed to?
Well, that's a good question. I think we have to reevaluate how we fund higher education, because the purpose of higher education is to prepare our students for the workforce and to advance knowledge. It is not to become indoctrination factories. It is not to teach people how to hate Israel or to hate America. And unfortunately, at all too many institutions, that's what it's become. So I think we need to revisit entirely how the federal government funds these institutions, including how we do student loans. We should not be loaning kids money to get degrees in things where they're never going to be able to get a job. So I think there's a addiction to these federal funds, and we've got to look into it and fix it.
If this
That's actually a good point. So, I mean, he's obviously like pretty pro-Israel, and so, I kind of discount some of that aspect of it.
I agree.
But federal funds for, if you want to pay out of your own money for whatever program you want, if you want to do gender queer studies for 4 years, fill your fucking boots. But yeah, if the government has a vested interest, the entire point of making these student loans available is to incentivize people to go to college to get an education, but also an education that will actually help them in the real world. So I think there's absolutely nothing wrong, and I actually think it's a great idea that there be some sort of ability to maybe see, actually, do a survey of the workforce, and if there's no actual jobs in this field other than to get out and teach it now at university, then maybe they shouldn't be offering student loans for those programs.
And, we can stop it there because obviously we get the message, but you see the difference between the right and the left, right?
Yeah.
The right is just, yeah, absolutely, they should be allowed to do this. No problem. It's not a right. It's not a right for Harvard to make money, to have access to taxpayers' money. The left is making it about free speech, which is fucking hilarious. Having the left making something about free speech when they've been censoring me and people like me for years now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cry me a fucking river, because this has nothing to do with free speech. You can say whatever the fuck you want. That doesn't mean you're entitled to taxpayers' money. And unfortunately, as you say all the time, elections have consequences, and this government does not like DEI. So guess what? Fuck you. That money's gone. You either adapt to it or figure out another way to make it happen, because you're a private business. Like, you're a private entity. And Trump wants to take it even further. Not only does he want to remove that $2.2 billion in funds, the NIH is going to remove millions of dollars in funding, but Trump is even trying to get the IRS to remove their tax incentive, because right now they are labeled, hold on, I have it written somewhere right now. So Trump's administration is cutting funding to colleges pushing DEI, and he has asked the IRS to remove Harvard's tax exempt status. So can you imagine?
Ooh, that's
yeah. So this is one I would like to have I haven't found anything from a lawyer yet to explain what is the tax exemption that they have right now, why they have it, and what would happen if they
I believe all education, I assume it's something like all educational institutions probably have it. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it being tax exempt if it's determined that, I believe education as a whole is obviously a good thing for society. To me, that's going too far. Just take the funding away. If they don't want to sort of play ball, but
at the same time, this is still a government benefit.
Sure. I mean, but then we can go down like, should churches be tax exempt? I mean, I personally think you think they should lose that? Yeah, because I kind of do.
I don't know. I don't really care either way, personally.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not like I like most churches out there, so
yeah, that's a good point.
I haven't found a really that many good churches out there that I would go all the time. So
I'll take a couple questions from Jason here.
Yeah, go for it.
He says, as someone who knows a lot of politics on and off campus with tons of friends, Jason, if your wife's a Harvard alum, is she not? This one confused me. What are the merits of the end run around free speech persecution? What are the damages? Yeah, I think we all agree on this. It's not a valid claim. And honestly, if you really value free speech, which I know the three of us all strongly do, I almost feel like you should protect it. Like you should be pushing back against frivolous claims of free speech issues that are not actually free speech issues, right? You want it to actually be free speech issues. He continues,
so before you take this, the country's oldest university, Harvard, is recognized as a 501c3 organization like other educational institutions.
Okay.
They're exempt from paying taxes. What that means is that they are commonly referred to as charitable organizations, which I don't believe that a school is a charitable organization.
Yeah, I don't make a nonprofit. I buy a nonprofit.
They're charging $86,000 for an undergrad. Like that's their annual fee for an undergrad.
That's fucking wild.
Non-charitable? They're charitable?
Yeah, no shit, eh?
86 grand a year?
I buy nonprofits. I definitely don't know about charitable. Jason continues, this lawsuit is silly, but don't get it twisted. Trump is saying, parrot my free speech or he will take away funds. This equivalent of telling Twitter to take down posts or get their 230 removed. And not really. If you were giving Twitter money, then I guess so. If the government was paying Twitter, they could say whatever they wanted, and if they don't, then they can take the money back. Yeah, I mean, of course Trump is saying this, but the fact that like he is, well, I wouldn't frame it in that way, parrot my free speech. Trump is certainly trying to get them to do something that he wants, but at the end of the day, he was elected to do that. So I mean, that's sort of how the world works. And Jason, always got to make it about Israel. So Israel gets to do whatever they want, and we give them billions, but Harvard is the one that's entitled. Who is privileged here? I say give neither of them money. We don't owe them shit. I mean, it's not about Israel at all, but I agree with you. I don't think we shouldn't be giving Israel billions of dollars either. You know, let them deal with their own shit.
Fuck foreign aid. I've said it so many times. Fuck foreign aid. But at the same time, if they're accepted here, if they are law-abiding visitors, they come here to study. I don't really give a fuck where you're from. Paying your dues, you're respecting the laws. Have fucking fun, brother. Like, I don't care. But does that mean that Harvard deserves $2.3 billion or $2.2 billion in grants and funding? No, they're not entitled to it. And, you know, here's some numbers for you. So they have an endowment of $53.2 billion and they generate $6.2 billion in operational revenue. This is the divide right here. So sponsored research funding, they get around $1.03 billion. And of that money, $686 million comes from federal research. So that is another thing. That's what the NIH, I'll talk to it about it afterwards, but the NIH is trying to is threatening to remove this money as well. Endowment contribution are around $2.2 billion in 2024. That's a payout rate of around 4.5 to 5%.
Endowment contribution. Does that mean that's the interest that they get from their endowment every year? Okay.
Basically, so that's the payout that they take out of that $53.2 billion.
So that kind of explains why they care here, because clearly.
Oh, but hold on, exactly, because they get over $1 billion in research funding, which 60% of it comes from the government. They get $2.2 billion from the interest of their endowment or their payouts, however you want to call it. They get $1.2 billion in funding that in tuition and fees, which it's estimated that they have about 25,266 students right now, and an undergrad is around $86,000 a year, and it goes down, depending on the year, how much time you're at school. So if you have if you're a graduate student, it's not as expensive as an undergrad. But I just wanted to show the number. They get gifts and donations at around $500 million a year, and they have other sources that covers for about $600 million. That comes from executive education, housing, publication, auxiliary services like dining. And this excludes, that $6.2 billion excludes their affiliated hospital, medical institutions, which generates additional billions of dollars each year. So
wow,
you understand why they are, because $2.2 billion comes from, out of the 2.2 billion comes from endowment interest.
Yep.
1 billion, over $1 billion comes from research,
so compared to their endowment is obviously not a lot, but from a cash flow perspective, it's quite significant. Like
they risk in losing almost $700 million a year just from grant research, which that's a massive amount of money. That is a fucking massive amount of money. So once I was looking at the numbers, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand why they care that much about it, right?
So I agree with you. So so let's say, I understand why they care. Well, then just fucking do what it takes to keep the money. Like, it's the right thing to do anyway.
Stop
discriminating. Yeah, or one or the other. If you really want the money, though, it's real easy to keep.
I'm sure that, I don't know what their split are between, because the congressman that you just saw in the last video, he's a Republican, obviously, he's from Florida, but he says it himself that it's because of Harvard and the education that he got there that he was able to put himself that he became a politician. But at the same time, how many of them
not the education you get at Harvard, it's the connections that you make.
Of course it is. Yeah. But what's the split when it comes to their endowment, where it comes from? Did it come from Republicans? Did it come from Democrats? Where did it come from? Like the people that donated that money.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's funny because the institution itself is overwhelmingly liberal, but I feel
now it is, but it wasn't always that way, right? I'm sure if you go back 30 years ago, it wasn't left-leaning the way it is now.
I bet you a lot of the legacy students, which is like, the kids of the rich and famous, the kids of the elite from America, they're probably still conservative. I just want to say, so Jason says, I am consistent. When the Colorado SCOTUS kicked Trump off the ballot for inciting an insurrection, something they provided no evidence or being charged, I defended Trump then. Oh, absolutely, Jason. You are always consistent. And what's the thing Jason always says? I'm not questioning their intelligence. I'm questioning their integrity. Jason, I would never question your integrity. However, I'm just fucking around with you. I was going to flip that around on him. Never question your integrity, just your intelligence. But of course, I'm just busting your balls.
Yeah.
Jason's a super smart guy. Even when he's
I defend it. At the end of the day, I think we can all agree that it's not a free speech problem.
It isn't.
You're not entitled to taxpayers' money. You're not entitled to it. And unfortunately, unlike Biden, unlike more left-leaning, and even Trump during his first administration didn't care. Like, he didn't go after them. He didn't try to change that woke ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Now he is. And this time it's going to have a massive fucking impact.
I think the time wasn't right. In when was it? 2016? Time wasn't right. There wasn't this underswell of support for it. Cheryl, she says, hi, Nico and Rob. Cheryl, good to see you. You're a little late today. But of course, we all have, we understand everyone. People have lives. Jason says, hey, I have symptoms of intelligence. Correct. Yeah. That's just another one of Jasonisms. I like that one too. I actually use that sometimes in real life.
So here's another one I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to show the NIH, because the NIH was talking about Over the weekend, the Harvard Grimson reported that the university receives $488 million in NIH funding. That's how much they almost received 500 million just last year, accounting for the majority of its total $686 million in federal research funding, which is the number I stated just a little while ago. So you're talking about almost $500 million. So not only are they getting almost $700 million from the federal government, Trump is saying that that's probably going to get bye-bye. It's probably going to leave.
Yeah.
Even the NIH. And it's interesting because they were saying, I believe it's in this article, that more than 80% of the agency's 48 billion annual budget is channeled to these research grants. So they have a budget of $48 billion, the NIH does, and more than 80% of it is going to schools for research grants, or these types of research grants. So basically the NIH is a research funding institution. Mm-hmm. That's what the numbers are saying. And this is not right leaning. If you look at the top, it says CNN. So we're
So it does make more sense a little now that why they care. So then, I mean, I guess they have a decision to make. Do you want to, just give up that much money, which is a lot? Because what's going to happen now is, to make up that shortfall, they'll probably have to dig more into the endowment, which right now they just live off the interest. Means they'll actually probably have to start to actually eat into principal, and they probably don't want to do that. But to me, there's an easy solution. Just these are popular policies that Donald Trump is trying to push. Obviously, if they just really feel strongly about it, then okay, that you don't get the money and you get to keep your principles, and that's great. I respect that. But I think if they're just digging in their heels because they don't want to look like they're giving in to Trump, I think that's very ill-advised.
I agree.
Sylvie says, good afternoon, you too. Sylvie, good to see you again today. How are you guys both doing? Cheryl asks, how can they sue him for cutting funding? That sounds crazy. That's because it is crazy. They are making it about free speech when nobody has a right to taxpayer dollars. And if you accept those taxpayer dollars, there's going to be conditions come with that. It's like a lot of people probably have maybe some experience in your, late teens, early 20s, when you're just started to move out on your own. And, your parents, if they're generous, they can give you money to help support you. I mean, mine never did, but you hear it regularly. It's not that, but it always comes with conditions, right? It always if your parents are funding your lifestyle, they're gonna want to have some say in what you do, or you're gonna have to go over on Sundays for Christmas dinner, or it's not gonna go over well. There's this is obviously it's a little bit more lighthearted. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's the same broad principle. You accept money from people, there's always a cost associated with that, whether it's your parents or the government. Take your pick.
It's funny because, again, I told you today that it's almost all about education, because I got another one I wanted to. So we talked about the NIH. We talked about what Trump is doing with Harvard and how Harvard is trying to sue Trump for that $2.2 billion because they believe they're entitled to it because it goes against free speech. But another thing that's interesting is, did you know that, I didn't realize that, but that since 2020, there hasn't been any collection debt on student loans, that Biden actually stopped that. I didn't realize that, but I got a great video to talk about this, because this to me connects to it, right? Because how many times have I said, because under Biden, they were, let's cancel student debts. I'm like, no. How about no? Does your education has any real life value? No, fuck you. Why the fuck? If that's the case, that means all the blue collars education that you don't consider.
What about that?
Student loans?
What about trade?
What about all the people that I paid my education by working on fucking weekends? So I would never stop. For years, I went back to school and I had to work in order to pay for my education. So what about me? What about people that actually worked more than you did.
Yeah,
I having a job on top of
I don't like that policy. It's just it you know, like it penalizes people who did the right thing, right? Who went out and saved up or paid off. I don't like it. To me, it just seems a bit like vote buying. I just think, you know, if you want to take all that money and maybe put it towards making college or university free or much cheaper for young people today going forward, I would have much rather seen something like that.
Oh, yeah. So imagine if Harvard is pissed off right now. Imagine what it would be, because guess what? They would be able to dictate your courses 100% would be dictated like they are in Canada, which I don't think is a good idea either, because what can we do in Canada? At least in the US, they're private / non-governmental entities. In Canada, they're basically, most of them are government entities, so you can't even do that. You can't even pull their grants off. You can't, because they're directly funded by the government. They're supposed to be public institutions, so we can't even, unless there's a massive overhaul of government policies or government thinking. What Trump is trying to do in the US or his administration is not possible to happen in Canada, which is why I don't like public education. I don't like it because it's easy to control. It's literally you're at the mercy of the government that's in power or that's been in power for a long time.
So, I mean, I agree with you on a couple things. Like I am supporter of public education, but I agree with your point that it should not be ideological. It should not be indoctrination.
It should be unbiased. It should be unbiased.
For me, it's more about changing the system rather than, say, just getting rid of. I do think there's a value in having publicly funded education. Government just needs to get out of the fucking indoctrination business, or sorry, the school systems just need to get out of the indoctrination business, just because not everyone's going to agree, right? And as we see now, like it just causes division. If you like a system, if you support something like public education that I do, you want as much support in society for it as possible. And the only way to do that is to just stay out of politics. Just stay out of it. They'll be like, oh no, it's not politics. It's just teaching kids how to be good people. Well, just the fact that you think that is politics, right? Like it's not. Just teach fucking basic education.
If you agree that Christianity or religion should not be taught in school,
exactly,
I don't see any difference between DEI, between wokeism, between Marxism and religion. It's a
postmodern religion. It absolutely is.
100%. So there's no difference. And if my money is going to be used to educate children, I don't want that shit to be pushed. You don't want religion? You know what? As much as I disagree, I understand. I fully understand why you don't want it there, but at the same time, don't fucking
have the other thing
and tell me that Marxism, that the agenda that we're seeing through wokeism is not a religion, because it is, and it's extremely dogmatic.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
I just wanted to play this video because it seems that the debt collection on defaulted student loan will start again. So I hope you guys are ready for the liberal tears that are going to start emerging.
Before you do that, should I just grab these two comments here?
Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it.
So Jason says, be real. If there was campus protests on how black people came from monkeys, I mean, technically we all did, if you believe in evolution, Trump would not have taken a dime. People owe AIPAC big time, especially Marco Rubio. I mean, no, he probably wouldn't. I agree with that. If there was like a single protests, no, I would agree with that. However, if there was so many protests on campus, like it was a widespread phenomenon that every campus had these kind of protests and they were harassing black people, then the vast majority of the public would start to push back against that. They would not like that, and they would elect a politician who ran on saying, I'm going to do something about this. And that's exactly what we see happening here. So like, you know what,
Jason, I don't believe that black people came from monkeys. Neither did we. So if that makes you feel any better, I don't believe that we came from monkeys. So there you go. Black, white, purple, don't care. We're not monkeys.
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't meant to be a debate about evolution. But yeah, like it's a completely different scenario. If there was racist protest doing exactly what the the
it would have been a problem.
Then it would have been a problem, and then we would all agree, and I would fully agree too, that whoever was elected should be well within his rights to use whatever levers of power he did to.
Oh Jesus! Look at his last comment.
He says, "We do come from monkeys." Biden got 81 million votes. Well, clearly we still are. We still are monkeys.
Sing.
Zabing. Cheryl agrees. She says, agreed, Nico. Hence how the colleges, universities in Canada were able to impose mandates. What's the connection there?
Because we're talking about how they're ran by governments.
Oh, yes.
Because if they would have been private entities, they could have just said, no.
Do we not? We don't have any private universities or colleges?
Yeah, you do. I've been, personally, I was to a private college. I did not go to a publicly funded college. It was a technical college.
Okay.
But those are private.
Private. Okay.
Thing as, there is a possibility for private healthcare.
Yep.
But it's nowhere close to being as available as the publicly funded one. Plus, I got a problem with the fact that, there's a fine line to be walked between the two, but it's like my kids will never go to public school. Never. They're never going to start unless after they're 18, they really want to, because at one point, like, you have to let that one go. But they will not go to, I've seen too many families where their kids did not go through public school, and they're so much smarter, so much ahead. They're on every fucking level. They're ahead of the people in the school. So
I think if you have the ability, like as in one of the parents has the time to do that, and they have at least the intellectual ability to genuinely teach, I think that's a great idea and a great option. And it really has nothing to do with like I'm not ideologically opposed to public schools whatsoever. I just think in general, if you can give one-on-one time to any student, it's going to be better for their education. It's just more of a productivity thing. Efficiency.
But it's more than that. I don't believe in what
I know it's ideological for you a little bit.
Not a little bit, 100%.
A lot.
But the thing is that it's not if I have the time or if our whole lifestyle is switching towards being able.
Yeah.
I will put everything else aside when it comes to what I want: a bigger house, a nicer car.
Yep.
I'll have a smaller house, one car, in order to be able to afford to do this. And where we can't teach, we'll have a tutor come in.
I mean, I got
what he needs to do. Because to me, I don't think there's something more important that I can teach my son outside of critical thinking, doubt people, because that's not taught in school anymore. If at least they would teach that, they would reward critical thinking, which they don't. They really don't.
I could not agree more. I've felt this for a while. I think it should be taught up there with like mathematics, science.
It's the number one thing. It's the number one thing,
especially in today's day and age, right?
Oh,
where you have to be able to do it. It should be considered one of the main subjects, course, like you do it in grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. It's just
should be the number one thing.
Yep, I completely agree.
Doubt what people tell you and research it for yourself.
Don't teach kids what to think. Teach them how to think, and we've got
I wanted to play a quick video before we change the subject, but here is what's supposed to happen in the U.S.
The Department of Education has announced it'll restart the collection of federal student loans. They were paused during the pandemic, and now only 38% of borrowers are repaying their loans.
Since
we want to go live to Scripps News national correspondent Nate Reed, who's in D.C. And Nate, this is a pretty big development in a big back and forth battle that's been brewing.
Yeah, Bree, this is an 180-degree turn from the Biden-Harris administration telling some student loan borrowers that their loans would be forgiven. Now, quite the opposite under the Trump administration, with some student loan borrowers now having to pay back loans that they hadn't thought of in maybe up to 5 years. Now, here's what we do know. Collections will resume on May 5th for the first time since March 2020, as you noted, when COVID was racking across the country.
5 years, bro.
42.7 million borrowers owe over $1.6 trillion. That's trillion with a T in student debt. 5+ million of those borrowers have not made a payment over a year. And here's the kicker, Bree. The Trump administration says they plan to garnish wages through the Treasury Department, meaning they will pull the owed money out of your paycheck directly if you do not create a payment plan with them. You can do so online at studentaid.gov/end-default, or myeddebt.ed.gov is another site that you can visit to try and fill out some of that information. But again, for millions of Americans, these are going to be brand new, hefty payments that they're making on top of everything else at the very last minute. Again, whiplash for some American.
The framing, they always have to.
You can do so online at student.
Fucking Trump. It's all Trump's fault for daring to say that they need to repay their debts.
I mean,
you know what? If that was a private entity that you own, like you own this to a cell phone company, to your house, you know what happens if you don't pay for your mortgage payment? They fucking take your house away.
Yep.
Just saying. In this case, they don't have anything tangible to take it away from you. So guess what? They're gonna garter your wages. This is what happens when you owe money. You're gonna have to repay it, and you agreed to this. Nobody forced you to get a higher education, to go pay to go take those loans. You took them.
Yep.
It might have been fucking stupid from you for taking it 100%. But don't give me this shit that you need to be saved. This falls in the same category as Harvard is not entitled to public funding, and students are not entitled to public funding to repay their fucking choices. Like, you made that choice, you knew what you were doing, that's on you.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I mean, at some point there has to be accountability, right?
42.7 million borrowers owe more than $1.6 trillion. That's fucked. That's a lot of fucking cash, bro. Jesus.
Yeah,
that's a lot of,
and it's funny because most of the people there are going to be freaking out that they have to start paying back.
There's going to be a lot of liberal tears.
Yeah, rather than just being happy that you got a few years,
5 years, 5 years off,
to not pay. Like, you had to know at some point you're gonna have to pay. Like, that's just
because because Biden, and you know what? I'm not gonna blame, because people should not believe what politicians tell you from the get-go. But in this case, like, how many of those students were maybe praying every night that they wouldn't have to repay this? As funny as this sounds,
praying to the god of gender.
I'm praying to the gender god, that they would not need to repay this.
Yeah.
So, it's
yeah, I know. I mean, you got the
how many of them were just hoping that they would never come.
But if they were smart, they would have put money aside knowing that it would, because it's always going to come. And if they do cancel your debt, of course. If they do cancel your debt later, then that's great. Then you can save some of this money you've put away.
Look, that money, you can use it to buy yourself a PS5 now, whatever it is that young people do now.
Yeah. I don't know. It's at some point they all agreed to it. They all agreed to sign on the dotted line. I mean, it is meant to be a loan. I don't see any of these people as victims. It kind of sucks in some ways, but life sucks. You know what I mean? The check always comes due.
I don't see any difference between that and credit card bills.
No, it isn't.
Like,
it's debt.
Those are choices and there's no assets, right? There's nothing that you can really give out. It's not like a house. Like, as much as I use the mortgage payment, they're just going to take your house.
Yep.
But I agree. This is not a victim crime. Students are not victim for having to repay the debt that they actually signed. Now, should they be paying that much for an education? Should they be paying that much interest? That you can argue. That part I
don't think they should be charged interest. I don't think they should.
See, and to me, that I can understand that too. Like, if I can understand not having an interest paid on that, I get it. That to me is an easy sell. But I think we can all agree that you have to repay it. You agreed to this, motherfucker.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, if you sign on the dotted line, at some point the guy's gonna start coming, not looking for his money, and if not, they're gonna start breaking some kneecaps. Maybe
you should pray harder to the god of gender.
You pray to the wrong gender. You prayed to the wrong gender. There's 72 of them,
Ooh.
so you could, you know, it's
Actually,
fair.
maybe you just prayed to the wrong God.
Yeah, no, they couldn't, they'd never accept that.
Yeah. Hold on, take this. Jason is saying in the US, I'm an American. We know you're an American. It's in your fucking name, Jason. They are telling us we have to have a college degree for jobs that should not require a degree. Then when they graduate, the job struggles to help them pay for the loan. Okay. You know what? Again, yesterday I was talking about naive and stupidity, the line that's in between. If you cannot research this shit for yourself, you're stupid. This is not being naive anymore. When I went back to school 20 years ago, you know what I did? I did some research and I went on the Google and I started looking, or maybe it was Yahoo back then, maybe it was Bing. But I did a research online and all I said is, what are the fields that pays the most? Which fields have the most potential? And I ended up in telecommunication, not because I had an affinity for it, but because I did research and it showed that this was one of the fields that would pay the most with the least amount of education. So don't tell me that if I was able to do that 20 years ago, that you can't do that today, or you couldn't do that 5 years ago. That's the thing, right? I could have decided to go to a prestigious university, pay more, or try to get a loan and this and that. I went to a technical college. I compressed it in 18 months. I paid it all. I paid it. Like, what do you want me to do?
I mean, I understand what Jason's saying, and I definitely have sympathy for those people. And if there's there are some cases of legitimate fraud, right? And if that can be proven, that's different. But that's very small percentage.
But that's why I agree with you that the interest part, you could easily. I would be very easily convinced to not charge interest on money that was borrowed for an education. You know what? Okay, you don't need to convince me. I'm down. I don't see any problem with that. If you can make that work, you don't need to convince me on that one. I'm down. But to tell me that the myth that is being sold to people, to students, that they need an education, at the same time, it's the same myth that's being sold to everybody out there, that they need 20 TVs in their house, that you need one in every single room, that you need a brand new cell phone, that you need to buy this, you need to buy that. It's the same thing. There's no difference. At the end of the day, education in the US is a fucking commodity. It's something that is run by businesses. It's a business. If you're naive enough to believe that education in the US is not a business, goddamn.
Yeah, no, and I understand Jason's point. Like, I do have sympathy for people in that situation, but I just, we talk a lot about accountability on the show, and I just feel like I don't know how to best explain it, but there's like a discipline lacking in society in general, because so many poor decisions get bailed out like this, right? Like, and it just teaches people they don't need to do the work that you suggested, right? Because if not, it'll just get bailed out. And, if you remember back from the 2007 financial crisis, when they were talking about bailing out all those bankers, one of the big words that you heard a lot was called moral hazard. And moral hazard is basically the idea that if you just bail these people out of a problem that they themselves cause, and they don't have to feel any pain, then what possible incentive do they have to not do the same thing again?
Change.
Yeah, and it's the same kind of thing here. Like, it's not just like I understand that I do have sympathy for people in that situation, but like at some point, there has to be accountability, and there has to be, it's not society's job to bail everyone out of making bad decisions.
I agree. And I think you misunderstood me, Jason. Jason's saying, well, Nico, you made it, good for you. I am talking about changing the criteria for jobs that should not require a degree. Ain't nobody calling people stupid over this. I'm not saying that the jobs don't need to change their criteria. I'm talking about students here. I'm not talking, if students believe the lie that the education system is selling them, that's on them. Now, you need a degree to be a fucking personal trainer in a shitty gym. So they all require that. They all require some type of certification. But does it mean you should have an $86,000 a year education? No, it definitely does not. And there's a meme I should find, but it's basically a blue collar guy that works for the electric company. and it says, Julie has $100,000 in debt, cannot pay her student debt. So John, that has no student debt, is cutting her power. So do you know what I'm saying? Like, you have blue collars that have no educate, almost no education.
Yeah.
It's somewhat of a 2-year program. I don't know what it is in the US, but in Canada, it's around the 2-year program. Doesn't cost you much, but it's not considered a prestigious job, but those guys can make a fucking killing.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying is we have to stop. If you believe the lie that you need a very expensive diploma to get the jobs that you want, that's on you. That's on.
Yeah.
I can't prevent that. It's the same thing. Like, what do you actually need? If that's what you want, that's no problem. You're allowed to do it. You want that? No problem. It's up to you. But don't tell me that we need to repay your education because you made that decision. And at the same time, can you really prevent jobs or businesses of requiring certain type of diplomas for their jobs? That's their prerogative. They're allowed to do that. They're private entities. So at the same time, do I agree with it? No, absolutely not. Because you know what? As much as I was a sales engineer, I was the only one that was not an engineer in my group. Yet, you know what? I made as much money as they did, and I was not an engineer. I was called a sales engineer, but technically I'm not an engineer at all. Now, so that was a title that was given to me because of the job that I did. But I did not go to university yet.
Yeah.
But I started at the bottom, bro. They did not start at the bottom.
They started
but they started in those jobs. I started in a fucking call center for a small internet company answering mom and pop problems over the internet.
Yeah.
So I would show them how to fix their fucking internet at home. They did not start there. They started probably 6 years ahead of me because they had the education. So you're still capable of doing both. But if you don't have that education to show that you can have that job that I had to work the extra 6 years with education, with experience, instead of being able to just start there, right? So
yeah. Now let me throw something out to you. I would probably, I don't know, I definitely would be could be convinced of this, but did you know that student debt, you cannot declare bankruptcy? It is not dischargeable. It's why I believe it's one of the only types of debt. Almost every other debt you can. I think that you should be able to. Like, you're going to pay costs, right? Like, the reason I'm okay with that is because it does allow people to get out of what could be crippling debt. But I think it's appropriate because it does exact a cost, right? It's just more the idea of like letting people get away scot-free from poor decisions. I just think it's not even about punishing them per se. It's just, I think that's the slippery slope. Once you start to get down that, then society loses its discipline in general, and that's just not good overall. But I think if someone does have say crippling debt, they just cannot escape, I think they should have the ability to get out of it. But of course, there are costs to declaring bankruptcy. There's a reason a lot of people don't do it. You're basically going to have no ability to get, buy a mortgage, get a car for at least 7 years. But yeah, it's a wrinkle. I think I would be okay with that.
But I think that's wrong what you're saying.
No, is it?
Yeah. Okay. It says here that when it has to do with when you finished school, you must be out of school for at least 7 years for your government student loans to be eligible for discharge in a bankruptcy or consumer proposal.
So there's
in
a
most
way
cases.
it can happen. Okay.
So it's 7 years. Because I agree with you, because I've heard that one before, but I never researched it.
Yeah, I didn't really look too much into it. I just
hold on. Oh shit. No, my bad. But this is Canada. Hold on. This is Canada.
I feel like in the States it's not.
So Canada, you need 7 years out of university or school in order to lump it in your bankruptcy.
Okay.
No, but it seems that it's still possible. As per the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, student loans borrowers share concerning stories about industry collecting on discharged debt, busting myth. No, it says that education loan can be discharged in bankruptcy.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's possible. Obviously, I would have to do a lot more research to know exactly what I'm talking about. But it seems like
that's what I would add. I think it should be dischargeable. I believe medical debt is not either. Is that?
See,
That's fucked up if that's true.
Yeah, and I understand. I'm not saying that I agree, but I understand why. Like, I agree with you with student loans should not have interest. That I agree with you.
Yeah.
Should it be dischargeable through bankruptcy? Yes, because bankruptcy will kill your credit.
Yeah, like there's a
7
cost.
years. So, yeah, there's definitely a consequences to going bankrupt. Now, when it comes to medical debt, I can understand why they don't want that to be possible to go through a bankruptcy, because if you're, and I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, like I'm not disagreeing this. I'm not giving my opinion. I just understand why they would not want to be possible, because can you imagine the amount of people that would simply just take whatever loan they get? Because if it's a life-saving surgery, they're like, my name is not worth dying, so I will destroy my name and rebuild in order to die, right? So
but I mean that's a shitty place to fuck. I don't know. My obviously we don't necessarily agree on healthcare, but like one of the reasons I support universal healthcare is I just don't think in one of the richest countries in the world, people should be dying from preventable medical.
Yeah, but at the same time, bro, we're paying more than $9,200 a year per person. So parents that have families are paying a lot more than that, but our system costs $9,200
the system
a year
is
per
broken.
person.
Correct.
And in the US, they estimated around 12,000, if my memory serves me right. It was between 12,000 and 13,000. So there's not much, there's only like 30% difference between Canada and the US when it comes to cost. And bro, I would much rather keep that money and put it into a private healthcare because of how fast I would get cured, because of how fast I would get treated. Because if it was, it cost me a couple $1,000s in taxes a year versus, oh shit, I got to pay 13 grand. I get the difference. I get the fucking difference. But you're talking 30-ish% between one and the other. And I've seen when you have insurance, how fast you can get a fucking treatment, which in Canada it never happens. Never fucking happens that fast. So we're not getting much for what we pay. If we're paying $9,200 per person, we're not getting $9,200 worth of medical assistance. If in the US it costs about $13,000 per people.
And now is that 13,000 for every American? Because like how many Americans don't have, there's a large amount.
But that's what the estimates are. But at the same time, we have to remember that the average person does not go to the hospital every week, right?
Yeah.
When's the last time we went to the hospital?
It's been years, a decade.
If it wasn't for martial art, I would not. If it wasn't for sport and martial arts, I would have probably never been to the hospital, because it's always about broken bones or I fucked something up because I was getting punched in the face. So,
torn rectums.
Well, I don't know which type of martial art you're doing, but I'm not doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's too funny. Jason says NYU and USC cost more than Harvard. That's wild. I didn't know that. I don't know why. I just assumed Harvard would have been the most expensive.
But they say it's the oldest, right? It's recognized as the oldest elite institution in the US. So same here. I would have figured that Harvard by far was more expensive.
Yeah.
Now, here is another thing about the education. So today is all about education, which I actually think it's a topic we should talk about way more in society. But the Supreme Court today is going to render a decision. Hopefully, at least it's going to be listening to the arguments, and hopefully it will provide a ruling. But the Supreme Court is to review a case on parental rights and school curriculum involving the LGBTQ, especially involving LGBTQ books and curriculum. And all those parents are asking is for an option to opt out. They're not saying it should stop being funded. They just want to be able to say,
they're not allowed.
Right now, they're not. That's why it's at the Supreme Court. So here's a video
taking up a case over certain types of books in elementary schools. It all stems from a group of parents in Maryland. They want to be able to opt their children out of lessons that involve books with themes of gender and sexuality. The reason, they say, is that it goes against their religion. NBC News White House correspondent Yamiche Alcindor joins us now with this reporting. Yamiche, I know you've been following this case from the start. Walk us through what's expected to happen tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in a case about whether Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland is violating the Constitution by not allowing parents to opt their children out of a policy that requires teachers to read students at least one book a year focused on LGBTQ+ teen themes and diversity. I traveled to the community to see what this is at the heart of this case. And again, oral arguments are going to be tomorrow.
So just it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. They're like, oh no, we don't want religion in schools because we don't want to, people teaching kids, things about things we don't agree with. Okay, fine. Meanwhile, we're going to force them to teach things like they don't see that it's for the context of this discussion. It absolutely is a religion, and they don't even see this as political, but it very much is. And because also when they're talking about LGBTQ+, they're not just saying treat everyone with respect. They're talking about telling kids that things like it's completely normal for teenage boys to cut their penis off if they believe they're a girl, which that's indoctrination. There's no other way to look at it.
I'll take a lesson. In the largest school district in Maryland, a dispute over books, gender, and religion is pitting families against each other in a case now coming before the Supreme Court. At issue, a policy by Montgomery County Public Schools that does not allow parents to opt their children out of lessons that use these books and feature LGBTQ+ themes, including same-sex love stories and transgender characters. In 2023, a group of parents who are Muslim, Catholic, and Ukrainian Orthodox filed a lawsuit saying the school policy...
Ukrainian Christians and Muslim actually fucking agree on something.
If they win, it'll be because they had the Muslims jump in, right? Because they're high up in that hierarchy of for the woke left. That's what I'm talking about. For the woke left, if you were a white Christian and you said, no, I don't want teach my kid about this because of my religion, they'll call you racist and homophobic. But
I was just going to say that I was happy to see two different religions.
No, I got to be divisive. I'm always divisive.
So Jason will rip on Israel anytime he can, and you're gonna rip on.
That's me, man. I have a one-track mind.
I'm just like, man. Finally, Muslims, Christians standing together.
And like, boom,
because my main enemy is wokeism. So Christians, Muslims, fighting against wokeism, but no, you have to fuck it up for me.
Yeah. Just I always, I'm just constantly just prying the cracks open, causing division. Yeah. That's me.
That's what the left does.
That's it. It's ingrained in me. I'm just in the habit of it now.
Violates their First Amendment rights to freedom of religion. But the policy has been upheld by lower courts.
I agree.
The case is bringing a heated national debate to this community.
The Islamic faith and numerous other faiths, we believe that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Wael El-Kasheri, a Muslim parent, has pulled his 9-year-old daughter out of the school system and is now homeschooling her. He is not part of the lawsuit, but has been organizing protests against the policy.
I'm responsible for my child, and I want the accommodations to make sure that child is raised in an ecosystem that I believe does not contradict my religious beliefs.
Jeffrey Gans and his husband, Dennis Williams, support the school's policy.
You may not agree with homosexuality, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So by removing a child from the classroom, it's sending a totally
Do they think kids are going to think it doesn't exist?
See, and so basically, and this is what I absolutely love about what he just said. So basically, God exists. You not teaching it in school, does that mean it doesn't exist?
Well, yeah,
because this is the same thing. No, but this is the same thing he's saying. And we're not talking about university students.
Yeah,
we're talking about elementary school.
Yeah.
Why the fuck
they're gonna find out? They're gonna
No,
know.
but why are we teaching about sex in schools?
There's no need for it in any context. In any context. They shouldn't be teaching about heterosexual sex either, right? It's nothing to do. Yeah, it's nothing to do with LGBTQ. It's not necessary to teach kids. The only reason they want to get kids is to indoctrinate, right? Because if you can get them young enough, they will believe whatever you tell them, and people know that young minds are malleable.
Make sure that that child is raised in an ecosystem that I believe does not contradict my religious beliefs.
Jeffrey Gans and his husband, Dennis Williams, support the school's policy.
You may not agree with homosexuality, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So by removing a child from the classroom, it's sending a totally negative message.
Everyone else has to
that other child
listen to your indoctrination
who might be struggling with their identity.
If I could have had a book,
There's no 6-year-old struggling with their identity. There's no 6-year-old. The only reason they might be is because adults in their life are putting shit into their heads.
I couldn't agree with you more. And again, how is that different from religion, what he's talking about right now? How is this? But this is the part that pisses me off. Is why is it not okay for a Muslim or a Christian like me to say my kids are not going to attend schools that you're going to be teaching sex in fucking elementary school? Are you fucking kidding me? How is this even a fucking conversation? But those guys are telling me that it's hurtful to not teach about homosexuality.
Fuck off.
Exactly. They're kids, bro. Why the fuck are we even talking about sexuality?
And why? It's like, you know, on the left these days, and just as it's sort of bled over into society, it's this idea that as soon as someone says it's hurtful or I'm offended, everyone else has to stop what they're doing and accommodate this person. And it's like,
you know what?
If you find that hurtful,
as a Christian, I'm offended that you want to.
But no one, no one cares about a Christian's offense, right? Because they're low on the identity group list. And I'm not a Christian.
I'm white.
You know?
Especially that I'm white.
Oh yeah,
and I'm a guy. I'm a straight guy too. Hey, Jesus.
All of them, straight white Christian. You're fucked, brother.
Look like that. When I was young, it would make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, but you're fucking gay.
From the classroom, it's sending a totally negative message to that other child in that classroom who might be struggling with their identity.
If I could have had a book like that when I was young, it would make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I'd like to ask that guy, what do you mean? You're gay. You've become who you were meant to be. You didn't need a book to tell you that, right? You knew it, or you'll know it once you hit puberty or whatever. A 6-year-old.
But why do we need to talk about that to a kid?
I agree. We don't.
So this is the part that bothers me. This guy is saying that being gay is not right because that's what he believes in, and I agree with him. To me, being gay makes no sense to me. But that doesn't mean I'm going to prevent people from being gay. I'm not there to tell you however the fuck I feel about something is irrelevant. If it's not changing, if you're not affecting my life, the fuck do I care what you do? You're an adult. Consensual adults can do whatever the fuck they want. Doesn't matter to me if I agree with it or not. That's my stance on this. Do I believe that it's a sin? I do, because that's what I believe in. But I will never tell you what you're okay to do and not okay to do. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to be friends with gay people, because I really could care less. I don't understand what the big deal is. Personally, I don't care.
It's not
but
hard.
Can you fucking stop this shit to tell me that if you did not read a book when you were 7 years old about sucking penises, that like, fuck off? Can we just agree that kids, it's about sex? Fuck sex in school.
Regardless of who it is, heterosexual sex, no matter. And like, I mean, I'm even, I don't personally think there's anything wrong whatsoever with being gay, and yet I still don't want kids to fuck I don't want my 6-year-old to be talking about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with being straight. Obviously, I am straight, but I also don't want my 6-year-old to learn about it in fucking school. This idea that like these are sensitive topics, and parents absolutely. I've heard some of these people say, some of these administrators say, "Oh, parental rights isn't a thing," and it's like, fuck that, that.
Marxism 101 right there.
Yeah, destroy the family unit. Absolutely.
And see, this is my point. I don't agree with his religion. Like, this guy's Muslim. I don't follow his religion. I don't agree with it. Does that mean I believe that he's wrong in this instance? No. I think he's absolutely right. It's his fucking kids.
Yeah,
it's
everyone has the
taxpayers'
right.
money.
Everyone
We're not
has the
talking
right.
about a private institution. If it's a private institution, guess what? They're allowed to do it. And if you want to send your kids there, that's on
Yep,
you.
100%.
But we're talking about tax-funded
Public education.
schools where
education.
somebody that is paying tax is saying, I don't want my kids there. And that guy is not saying you shouldn't be allowed to teach this. He's saying that I don't want my kids to be part of it. Like, I would go further than what those guys are. I don't want that shit to be taught in school. If you don't want religion to be taught in school, no problem. I understand. I disagree with you, but I understand. But don't give me this shit that this is not your religion because it's dogma. And there's nothing healthy about teaching kids. We're talking elementary school. We're
They
not
don't need to
talking
know
about
it.
university kids. Like, what? Why does everybody everything needs to be sexualized?
Exactly.
No, if they have questions, you know where they should go? They should
parents.
ask their fucking parents.
Yep.
What a concept. What a fucking
I couldn't agree with
concept.
you more. Like, as if humans have not figured out sex for as long as we have existed. We don't need, like, it's ingrained in our fucking DNA. It is instinctive behavior. We will, just like everyone else, they can figure out about sex the way everyone else has up until this moment in human history, by fumbling around in the dark when they're 15 or 16 with their girlfriends or boyfriends, or behind the fucking barn,
slippery,
or whatever your thing is. They are fucking kids. As Jason says, Rob should say this 3 times a show. They are fucking kids who don't even think about their genitalia or any way like this. And that's exactly it. We don't need to teach them. They will figure sex out on their own. If they have questions, they can ask their parents. I don't know where this idea came from that the big problem was kids didn't know enough about sex. Are you kidding me? They don't need to be thinking about it. Any kid who's really thinking about sex, there's a reason why a kid who is 5, 6, 7, who acts in a hypersexualized way, that's one of the main signs of that kid is being
parents
sexually
indoctrination,
or they're being sexually abused.
They've been abused.
Yeah,
100%.
There's no if they are not, if neither that's going on, they won't even think about it. They're fucking kids.
Like my nephew is 5 years old. Is he thinking about sex? Yeah,
of course
no,
not.
He's not.
Of course
now,
not.
Is he finding boobs attractive? I think he is, little fucker.
Yeah, and that's just again, that's how we find out these things. You know, at some point you're like, "Ooh, that's interesting," and then you figure it out. But it's not hard. We all figured out how sex works on our own. We don't need some fucking creepy ass man with long hair and long purple hair, or some fucking wide-eyed crazy white liberal woman, or any stereotype you could imagine, whoever it is. We don't need adults talking to kids about sex, and especially preventing parents who do have an issue with that from taking their kid out just because someone might find it hurtful. Like, get to fuck. Like, we're not. That's exactly the kind of shit that all of society needs to start pushing back on.
Harry says he doesn't want the school system to change his curriculum, just to allow him to opt out, though he thinks some of the books are not age appropriate for students.
It's exactly what I'm saying.
At a young age, are very impressionable.
Have you seen any of these books?
A lawyer for the parents suing plans to argue the case before the High Court.
The Supreme Court has long said that schools aren't there to impose one ideological view, that we learn to get along by respecting each other's views. And that's all we're asking for here.
Montgomery County Public Schools did not respond to our multiple requests for comment. But in court documents, the school district said teachers are not permitted to enforce a particular viewpoint or ask students to change how they feel.
If we allow kids to opt out of this curriculum, of these books, where do we draw the line?
Oh, shut the fuck
up. Teaching about religion to my children because I don't want them to learn about a religion different than mine.
Now the 6'3".
But what the fuck are you saying?
Rewind that, because that's exactly what we do. That's exactly we don't teach religion in school for that exact reason. Go back to this. Go back to this guy.
You want to do?
How they feel.
If we allow kids to opt out of this curriculum, of these books, where do we draw the line? Do we opt out of teaching about religion to my children because I don't want them to learn about a religion different than mine?
Now
that is exactly what we do. Like, are you fucking serious?
They very specifically famously do not teach religion in school for that exact reason. That literally, I don't understand how.
What is that guy fucking talking about? Like what is he talking about? Like this is on TV. Those guys are on MSNBC talking about, or CBS talking about how you have to teach about homosexuality because we teach about religion. Hey, bro, no.
Can you remove that for a quick second? I just want to show, just in case someone's like, oh, well, it's just to teach them about.
Let's just finish the movie.
Okay,
let's just finish,
because I'm going to show what some of these books actually look like.
Oh, but 6-3 conservative majority Supreme Court will have the final say.
Wow, Yamiche, great report. How do people on both sides of this issue feel about what the court may decide?
Well, it's a good question. We know the school district has won in lower court, so they're hoping to win again at the high court. That said, the parents and lawyers against the school district's policy told me they feel very confident that they will win this case, especially after President Trump successfully ran for re-election, in part by pushing back against teaching about LGBTQ plus themes and transgender Americans. And this is, of course, a 6-3 conservative majority court that experts say is more likely to side with parents saying their religious rights are being violated. Sinclair?
Pow, simple. I don't even understand where the fucking conversation is coming. Why are we even talking about this? Nobody's saying I would go even fucking further than that. Stop teaching this shit in school. Stop teaching about sex in school. It's not your responsibility. Fuck you. I don't care about your sexual preference. Can we just teach them critical thinking?
Yeah.
But he's not even going there. He's literally just saying, I want the right to opt out. How the fuck do you not have the right to opt out already as a parent? Like, how the fuck is this? So the guy, because he doesn't have the possibility to opt out, he's teaching, he took his kid out of the school system to teach them at home. Like, how insane is that? I understand why he's doing it, because I'm going to do the same thing, but at the same time, we're not talking about let's change the whole education system and make sure. No. I want the right for my child to not listen to the things I don't believe in.
And if you're going to have a public school system, you have to have a mechanism for that. And it's just it's so easy to me that just don't teach any sex at all. There's no need for 6-year-olds. Now, at 16, 17, if you want to teach kids about like just how to not get pregnant, maybe, sure, there's a place for that. But that's a completely different ballgame than what we're talking about. We're talking about 6 and 7-year-olds. Just in case people are like, oh, I don't see what the big deal is. Because remember that guy said, it's just about teaching respect. Is it though? Is it? Here, is it really? So here's the example of the kind of books that we're actually talking about.
Yep.
So this is one called Let's Talk About It. So you don't have to. And this is
like, what the fuck is this garbage?
As you can see,
what the fuck is this garbage?
Yeah, look, here we have what looks like a woman at first with breasts and a penis. And they are teaching kids that, it's okay, like it's completely normal for this, right? And clearly it is not.
And I like how the most masculine man in there has red hair.
Yeah, you gotta have something, right? So this thread is a Twitter thread. It goes down. You can see some of this. Wait till you get to this part. So here they're talking about the generally testosterone rich body, as if you're talking about like this is a really fucked up way to talk about male and female bodies. Generally estrogen rich bodies. You tell me this is not indoctrination? Look at this. Of course, he's got one leg, right? He's disabled too. So
you're seeing penetration.
He's literally penetrating this woman. Wait till you see the next one. Now we're talking about
anal sex. Cool.
Anal sex, butt plugs. Yeah, because fucking 6-year-olds need to know. And maybe I should have put a trigger warning for that, guys. Sorry about that. The point is, if adults are out there being like, oh fuck, I didn't want to see that. Why the fuck are we teaching 6-year-olds this? How is that okay? Like, how is that?
How is that not indoctrination? How is that not? Explain to me how this is not indoctrination.
And like for me, there is absolutely no way or reason, way, shape, or form that should ever be taught in school. But to prevent parents from taking their kid out, just saying, teach whatever you want, I don't care, I'm just going to take my kid out for that lesson, that is outrageous. That is fucking outrageous.
It's pure insanity to me. It is pure insanity that you're asking that religious guy to allow his
Be okay
kid
with that,
to sit through that, and yet they're going to tell me that religious people are the problem. So because I don't believe that being gay is natural and that's what God wants, I'm the problem, when we're both saying, like, I'm not saying that those shouldn't be allowed. I want my kid to be removed. Like, this is insane. It's fucking
wild,
insane
right?
to
It's
me. Like,
wild.
how is this a conversation?
If anything, if you told me this was a Supreme Court case, I would have assumed it was about whether they can teach us or not. The fact that he had to go all the way to the Supreme Court just to be allowed to take his fucking kid out of school is mind-boggling. It's,
remember that the guy that was there, his kid's not in school. His kid,
he had to
took
take
his
her out.
kids
He had to take her out.
Yes, but there's an association of Muslims and Christians and Ukrainians
That's a
that
weird
are
name.
trying. I fucking love it. I love it. So you got Nazis, you got no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But see, to me, that's the beautiful part, is you actually have Muslims and
You've got everybody
Christians that are,
except for these fucking weirdos, these purple-haired weirdos. Maybe it's the purple-haired weirdos that are wrong here. You know, has that anyone thought of that? You've got everybody else, all these religions, all these ethnicities, all these races, whatever, all saying, no, it's fucked up. But the purple-haired weirdos, they're the right ones. Like it's
and they're gonna tell me that my religion's the problem.
And it's insane. And just in case someone's watching this, it's like, oh, well, Nico said he doesn't agree with it. He's homophobic. That's why. I don't have any problems with it whatsoever. I think it's completely morally fine to be homosexual. And I have a big problem with it too.
But you know that the worst part is that I'm not homophobic. Is
no, I know you're not. I know you're not.
No,
just
no,
some
no,
people,
but because
some people might say that.
but because you're putting context to it, you know what? As per what I believe in, I don't think it's natural, and I don't understand it. Yeah. Does that mean I want people to stop doing it? That I'm going to force people out of it? No, I don't really care. At the end of the day, if somebody has to explain themselves to God, it's you, not me.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you have to, and I got to tell you, in Christianity, I don't understand why they have such a big gripe against homosexuality. This is something I'm not sure I understand. But at the same time, do I remove religion from it? I don't understand it, because to me, men are not attractive to me sexually. So I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't think it's right. In my head, it's not right, because I don't like it. Personally, I don't like. I don't want to.
And you're perfectly allowed to have that opinion.
And I'm not saying to any gay guys or women to not do it. That's up to you. I don't really give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck about what you do. If it doesn't impact me, I don't care. I really don't care. But don't tell me you need to teach that shit to kids, because it's bullshit.
Yep. Yeah. You just don't need to teach kids about sex, and you certainly don't need to be teaching them about how to have sex and all the ways, because you know what? They'll figure it the fuck out the way humans have been doing since we fucking existed. It is not hard. It's trying to solve a problem that absolutely
it is hard.
never existed. Like everyone else never had a problem in the entirety of the human race up until now. And now, you know, to me, it's pretty clear. Like anyone who insists on teaching kids about how to have anal sex, they should have their hard drive checked, because that's highly suspicious. That is highly suspicious. There's only one obvious reason why I could imagine anybody like advocating for it, and it ain't a good one.
It's not good.
It ain't a good one.
You want to take a few comments?
Yeah, Jason says these should be the rule. Yeah, and then we'll do the quick recap on the election. Jason says these should be the rules. And rule number 1: no sex books no sex books for any kids under the age of 16. Perfect. 2: after 16, any subjects taught on the subject should be elective and not core curriculum. Exactly.
Bro, ding, 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 ding.
And
Jason
it's so simple.
wins.
And it's so simple, so common sense.
You know, I would go even further. If it was my type of education that I want, like forget the religious part, I would want segregation when it comes to women and boys. Like I would want boys only schools and girls.
Are we talking about
until a certain age, like let's say 16?
I see there's value in that.
Because boys are losing. If you look at the studies, boys are the education system is basically taught 75 to 80% by women, and they're expecting little boys to behave the same way as little girls do.
Yes.
We are not the same.
And
That's why you see
they're
such
heavily
a high,
medicating them. Yep.
Exactly. There's such
Heavily
a high
medicated.
level of medication when it comes to boys, and
Yep.
they're removing phys ed. All the they're not allowed to roughhouse anymore.
Very
They're not
feminized
exactly.
curriculum. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that isn't to say there's anything wrong with being
women
feminine.
do girls do extremely well in
Yep.
North America right now when it comes to the education system.
Yep.
I'm saying segregate the two, have women teaching women, have dudes teaching boys until a certain age, and then mix them up and have them figure out all that shit. And believe me, you won't have to teach them about sex. Parents will teach them, and boys will be allowed to be boys, and girls will be allowed to be girls. It's such a fucked up principle. But yeah, when I said segregation, I saw your faces like, no blacks and no whites.
It's kind of it's kind of a loaded word. But actually,
segregation just means segregate, right?
Yes,
I want boys on one side, girls
the
on the
literal
other.
definition of the word. Yeah, as you explain it, I mean, it actually makes sense to me. Because if you look at, there's so many metrics. If you look at, I think something for like every 100 degrees in college are given out, 70 or 65 or something go to women, and that's obviously
it's about 70. You're about 70%. Yeah,
it's wild, and all the way up. Just boys are falling behind, and the problem is there's this thing on the left where if you even voice this, if you even say, "Oh, should we be worried about our boys? Should we be doing something?" They're like, "Oh no, they have privilege. They have privilege. They'll figure it out. They're fine." And fuck that. Fuck that,
yeah,
man.
I agree.
It's wrong. You cannot. They're just medicating young men for being boys, and they're beating any sense of masculinity out of them. And then it's showing up in different ways as a distorted, grotesque version. There's a direct correlation between what we're talking about here and why someone like Andrew Tate, who we both agree is a piece of shit and is not a good person, should not be role models for our young men. And yet he's got.
But at the same time, I understand why he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you just destroy any aspect of masculinity, you're never going to be able to kill it because it's baked into our DNA.
Of course it is.
Baked into our DNA. And if you just try to squelch it, it's going to pop up somewhere else. It's like those, fucking water balloons. If you squeeze it, it's going to pop up somewhere else.
Unless they are black and they identify as they because they don't do setups. Jason, Jason is saying that they can't find a black they
who does it, making fun of the book.
The books,
yeah. Sylvie.
Those books are 100% insane.
Wild, right?
Sylvie.
Wild.
Jason is saying you can get flagged on YouTube for that, but you can't. You can show it in school. It's so true. It is so true that you get in trouble for talking about. For showing that on YouTube, but our education system thinks it's okay to show that to kids.
You have to go to the Supreme Court to
I have to flag our content as not school friendly because we might swear, but it's okay to show penises to 6-year-olds.
Like in fucking cutaway shots of a dude. What, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but it looked like he was kind of violently shoving her up against the wall. Like it's
stop being a bitch. She likes
but we're talking about a 6-year-old too, right? Like we're talking about messaging. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. From
don't get me wrong. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of the old shove up against the wall move.
You're a little bitch. You're just a little bitch that does missionary. You just like missionary.
Missionary with the lights off.
Don't push your values with the socks on. You
missionary with the lights off. I'll just put my penis through my pajama hole, the hole in my pajama pants.
Oh, you want to take that last one?
Jason says, trust me, when it comes to this, God's got better things to do. We are not talking about atheists. We're talking about sick fucks. Yeah, 100% agreed.
We agree, bro.
This is stupid. The Supreme Court, they could have settled this in the People's Court with Judge Judy, right?
Oh, I would have loved Judge Judy would have thrown her hammer at them. Like, what the? I like Judge Judy. That woman is super conservative.
Yeah. Oh fuck yeah. But yeah, no, I think awesome. Glad we all agree that it's absolute fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah, so let's talk about the election in Canada.
Very quickly, yeah, we'll
I got a couple of videos for you because I figured you'd show some lefty stuff. I found some righty stuff.
Okay.
I want to get your opinion on it because it's, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. People really think I hate Pierre Poilievre. I don't like him, but I don't hate people. I just don't like him.
Okay.
I don't like him because he's not a conservative, right? But go for it. You wanna start?
Yeah, I'll start first. So you actually might have been. I'm going to show a picture here, and I feel like you probably have seen
There's
it.
no penises, right?
No.
Because the last one you were showing. Like,
yeah, no buttholes either.
No butthole,
yeah,
no butt plugs, no
buttholes.
penises. Okay.
No buttholes. All right, so here it is. Share screen. I'm sure you've seen this picture here. This guy.
Oh yeah, that's Daisy. That's actually David. That's Daisy Media. We're supposed to have him on. He never rescheduled. We have to.
This guy.
The guy
the guy who took the
original
picture.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so we've got and I mean, this is a famous picture. I'm going to show something else with a little bit of context, but. So there's 4 pictures here from this rally. Look at every single person in the background. This one here is probably the youngest you're going to see.
Yeah.
We've got this guy. We got this guy. Look
that's Daisy. That's Daisy. That's Daisy that posted that. Yeah.
Look at this guy. This it's just.
Where is he looking? That guy. Where was that guy looking?
Right here.
Like
right in the camera. He's right there.
No. Look at his eyes. He's able to look at 2 things at the same time.
Oh, fuck. The cross-eyed as fuck. Holy hell.
You didn't even notice that?
No, Jesus, man. It's like a fucking chameleon putting one eye one way.
Chris Daisy.
Yeah.
Chris Daisy is the guy that actually posted those things originally.
Okay. So that picture, especially the one giving the finger, that seems to have been kind of, for whatever reason, it struck a nerve, and it's sort of everywhere right now. But the clip I'm going to play here is a guy. I don't even know who this is. Matty Up North, his name is. And he's just talking about it. Basically, he calls it the picture that's going to win the election for Poilievre. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I like what he's saying here.
With a big smile. This photo is a work of art. This photo will define this Canadian election. This older gentleman giving the double middle finger at a Mark Carney rally with a big smile on his face is a representation of an entire class of people that does not care that you won't be able to afford a home, that does not care that you won't be able to have and raise kids in this country, that does not care about the fact that their country and culture is being completely destroyed and decimated from underneath them. This is the face of people who laugh and smile at the fact that you're complaining about the state of this country. They don't care. They love it. They know what they're doing. They know they're ruining things, and they love it because they're fine. They don't have to worry about it. And it's not all old people, so don't blame all the boomers. Don't say it's everybody, because it's a very select group of people. But these types of people are the ones that want to screw over your future. So are you going to let that happen, or are we going to outvote people like this? Because we cannot have this continue on. This photo is a work of art. This photo.
And by the way, I was mistaken. It's either Daisy Media. I think he just reposted it.
Yeah.
It was somebody called Karima Saad. I've tried to have it on the show. She hasn't responded yet.
Okay.
But it's her, if I'm not mistaken, that posted this video first.
Yeah. So now that guy, obviously, it's not any hard news. It's just an opinion. But I really get what he's saying. What he's saying is a lot of people like, our age and younger are kind of like, obviously everyone's entitled to a vote, but it's like, it's like we were going on with Raw Torque yesterday and the day before, like, you guys aren't going to be here 20 years from now. The system worked for you, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to give some benefits of the doubt here, because these are our parents and our grandparents. I don't think they're trying to hurt us. I think the system worked for them, and they don't realize it doesn't work for us. They don't realize that it's not the same system anymore. For them, a vote for the Liberals is a vote to keep a system that they think is a good thing, but it's not. And it's harming us. And you see it in the breakdown of the numbers. Literally 65 plus hard Carney.
Yep.
Everybody else is something but Carney. It's Poilievre. So I'm just going to play one more quick video and then I'll throw it to you. But this is it's just an economist talking on BNN.
$25 billion that he wants to spend. No?
Yeah, exactly. It's on BNN, which is basically CNBC for up here in Canada, and he's talking about Carney's economic plan that was just released, and it's 200.
That's from yesterday too. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. So it's $200 and something billion in new spending.
Mark Carney is talking about heavy spending and bigger deficits, at least in the near term.
He certainly is. I mean, we're talking about $200 billion more in debt, actually, over the next 4 years of his platform. And also the spending does go up quite a bit. I think it's around 130 billion, if I recall. But it's certainly a very significant increase. I think one of the most important differences between the two parties is that when you read the Liberal plan, it's really a belief that the only way you can get growth is through governments working with the private sector, which is actually opposite to a different point of view, which I think comes out of the Conservatives' plan, is that the government has been in the way of growth through regulations and taxation, and that the way to grow the economy actually is to try to get government interference reduced in the economy, not increased in the economy. So I think it gives Canadians a very clear choice on fiscal matters, for sure.
And again, nothing new per se. I just, I feel like one thing, probably the clip we showed yesterday, I don't know if you remember it, but it was just 10 seconds of I believe it was like some Liberal staffer talking about this plan. And she said, well, I don't know if it was a mistake or something, but she seemed to be almost bragging. She's like, oh, we already had this plan basically before Carney came in. He just came in and basically rubber stamped it. That's what sealed my vote for Poilievre, that moment. Because I was like, the entire point of Carney's argument was, oh, he's different. He's an economic genius. He's a financial genius. He's going to work his magic. And like, I never believed it. But like, that was the argument. And now we say it's not even that. He's not even going to work his magic. He's literally just parachuting in, rubber stamping the Trudeau plan of the last 10 years that has caused Canada's economy to be the worst performing industrialized country in the entire world by a wide margin. If you look at some of the countries that have performed better than us, it's ridiculous. It's like fucking, I don't know, like fucking Burundi, and like it's not even the countries you'd expect. China, Japan, it's fucking Costa Rica. You know what I mean? And to say more of that just because you are 65 and you think, oh yeah, it's great. I'm sitting here. I'm a millionaire. Yeah, you're a millionaire because you bought a home for $100,000 30 years ago on a middle-class salary, and it has gone up to 1.2 million. By the way, the reason that you're a millionaire is the exact reason why my generation can't buy a fucking house anymore, because there have been policies put in place that have protected your the property of your, or the value of your property. And the only way they could do that is to keep prices high, which makes it unaffordable for the rest of us. And it's just, something has to change. Something has to give.
But at the same time, as much as I agree with everything that you said there, but what's funny is when I see videos like this. So this is, there's a couple of videos I wanted to show. First, this is the new Conservative ad that was released a couple of days ago. Tell me what you think of this. That's Pierre Poilievre's.
How's your son David?
Pierre Poilievre's campaign.
Well, it's been a tough few years for him. He just can't seem to get ahead.
Yeah, how's your son David?
Well, it's been a tough few years for him. He just can't seem to get ahead.
Yeah, we had to pay for Sarah's down payment last year. Things are tough for her too.
You know what Mark Carney says.
Come on, do you really think that a fourth Liberal term is going to change anything?
I've been thinking the same thing.
Are we really going to give these clowns a fourth term? I'm voting Conservative. There you go.
Yeah, for a change.
Is that really something that is moving the needle for Conservatives? Two old white guys, baby boomers that you're criticizing, have enough money to play golf and to pay for down payment? Like, are you serious? This is, once again, Pierre Poilievre had a great opportunity to make it about young voters. She made it about two old white guys. Like, I forget the fact that they're white. Like, the fact that they're white is irrelevant. But
clearly wealthy. And
yes, Yes, like this is not guys that are struggling. Their families are not struggling. Like, fuck off. If you have somebody that's able to pay for your down payment.
Well, what's infuriating about this is they clearly do understand the issues a little bit. They understand that the older generation is doing well. Because if you actually listen to them talk, they're doing well. I don't think anyone disputes that. It's their kids that are suffering, right? It's their kids that are suffering, even in the commercial. So clearly the Conservative Party, the people who made that, they do understand the issue. That just is not the right way to
like, why are they not
do it?
You know, the videos I showed last week of young kids, of young voters telling their parents they need to vote for Conservative. Why are they not, bro? If I was in that campaign, I would have gone the rights to those videos. Hey, bro, can I take those videos? What do I need to do to take those videos? And actually we'll build a commercial, an ad on 20, that, bro.
45 seconds of 7 or 8 videos, and then at the end be like, your kids want it. You know what I mean? Like your kids.
Oh, you didn't need to add anything.
Or just like
Pierre Poilievre endorses this message. Bang, done.
Yeah.
We're done.
They'll be here.
Spin. Yep.
They'll be here 20 years from now. You won't. I mean,
but yet they put money into commercials, like in ads like this. And you know, as Sylvie's saying, oh brother, I'm sold now. But this is again, he had the perfect.
He's playing not to lose, as you keep saying.
But it gets worse, bro. Because this is the type of commercial that he puts out. And then yesterday, on Monday, those are some videos that came out of what he was doing over the long weekend of Easter.
Mm-hmm.
And if we remember correctly, he made a lot of fun of Trudeau for doing similar things, right? This is Pierre Poilievre trying to get some votes from the
the Sikhs, the Khalistanis.
Thank you.
That's one.
Brother.
No, but hold on. It's not quite done just yet. There's another one.
Now get out and vote. Thank you.
Like, you know the part I don't understand. I get why he's going to see those. He's going to see them. He's going to try to get them to vote. Yep. I get it. Do you really need to wear their religious headband? Like, that's the part I don't. That's the part I don't. I really. We're multicultural, no questions about it. Does that mean that if I try to have Jewish to vote for me, I should put the kippah on?
Yeah.
If I want Muslims to vote for me, I need to endorse halal. Like, no, you don't, bro. You can just go fucking talk to them.
Yeah.
But what I find hilarious is that guy made so much fun of Trudeau for pandering to those people, and now he's doing the exact same fucking thing. That's our conservative. And that shows you either he doesn't stand up for anything, he believes in the same thing as Trudeau, or it really doesn't matter who you fucking elect, they're all the same. Pick your poison.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like, no, yeah, of course. If they're gonna vote, they're your constituents, go talk to them. Yeah, go talk to them. There's nothing wrong with that. Here they're what are your issues? You know, here's what I can do to get your vote. But like, and don't even, you're insulting them too. Like, do you really think they're so stupid? They'll be like, I don't like him, but he wore that fucking whatever. He wore the headscarf, so now I'll vote for him. Like, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's silly. It makes him look pathetic. It makes him look ridiculous. Like I said, I'm gonna vote for the guy, but I'm gonna hold my nose. I don't feel great about it.
Sylvie's saying he went to visit India. And then she says he was at the celebration in Surrey where there were over 500,000 Sikhs. And that's what we're seeing right now. He had his headgear on. Pierre Poilievre is just a swine. It's, this is the part that I find that none of the conservatives are able to defend, is why is he not backing gun owners like I was talking about yesterday, when obviously you have at least 4 million, we were talking about 4 million Canadians have guns, and you all know that the vast majority of them are voting for Conservative or PPC. And why do you feel the need to put a headscarf on? You don't need to pander to them by wearing their religious symbols. You could simply go see them,
Just be a
and
person.
talk to them like a fucking normal human being. But at the same time, I did not see him during Easter celebration in front of thousands of people with his cross talking about Christianity. See, this is the part that really bothers me. Why can you endorse every single religion out there, but you can't endorse Christianity? If you were smart, don't endorse any of them. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
go talk to them. You don't need to wear the headbands. You don't need to wear the kippah. You don't need to wear any of their religious.
Well,
I'm looking.
it's like
their religious symbols.
Symbols, yeah. It's like we were saying yesterday. Like every other society, or every other culture is worthy of protection except for ours, right? Every other identity group is okay for them to be proud except for us, and people are getting sick of it, man. Like in a multicultural society, everyone should feel proud of who they are. And you know, to just talk about like the histories of, like, yeah, they focus heavily on the negatives of some of our history, but just like every culture and every identity group, there is bad things in the past and there are good things. And it's just, what's frustrating is how they are always so eager to embrace the good in every other society, every other culture, and so eager to embrace the negative and the bad in ours. And it's really hard to not get the feeling that, you know, we are at the bottom of the totem pole in our own fucking society. And that isn't good. They're like, I'm a fucking liberal, man. If I'm being radicalized on this, there's a whole lot of other people that feel the same way.
And like Sylvie's saying, I could never support such a weak man as Pierre Poilievre, and I'm right there with her. Like I
understand it. I understand it.
I want a real conservative person, and he definitely is not one of them. And at the same time, I understand why people are voting for him, because they want to kick out the liberals. They want to have that change, at least what they believe to be change. And it's their right. I get it. I fully get it. But I always find it interesting that people cannot explain to me, conservatives cannot explain to me, what does he do that's so conservative?
I don't understand being excited about Poilievre.
At least be honest and tell me that the only reason you're voting for him is because you want to avoid another liberal party.
And that's a valid reason. That's why I'm voting for him. That's why I'm voting for him.
Why do you think Trump won? Because there's a lot of Democrats that voted against Kamala Harris. Turns out to be for Trump. And the same thing's going to happen in Canada. But if I point out some of the things that he does, like I have a video that's going viral right now on Instagram, and I'm talking about the protest that we were talking about yesterday on the show. Like not the protest, but the prayers, and then that guy getting arrested as a pastor. So many people in the comments are like, oh, that's why you need to vote conservative. And I respond to some of them, and I'm like, okay, what is voting?
That guy?
Yeah, but that's why I'm showing the video right now. Like, that guy is the one that's speaking against the behavior that I just showed you. No, he did not, and he will not. So even the conservatives are voting for him for all the wrong reason. Be honest with yourself and just, I understand why you would vote for the conservative in order not to elect another liberal party. I get it. I fucking get it. I understand. I know what you're saying.
I would vote for the first politician who stands up and gives a full-throated endorsement of secularism, of saying we are a secular society. Yes, you are free to worship however you want. You are not free to center your religion in our society, in public society. You're not free to shut down streets to pray. And let's be honest, it's only one religion. It's only one group doing this. It isn't the Christians who are out there shutting down streets all over the fucking West. It isn't the Christians who are loudly and proudly saying that their goal is to impose religious law on the rest of our society. And so if it was the Christians, I'd be just as pushing back against them, but it isn't. You know, we need to open our eyes here, and we need to pull our head out of the sand and see what's going on. Because if you value if you like the values of our society, we have to defend them against people who do not share them.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, and it's just like, and as, even though you're a Christian, like, you can appreciate it because you share Western values. You understand that the religion is a private thing, right?
Look through Christianity, look through the Gospels, look through the New Testament. I'm supposed to be nowhere does it tell me to kill gays because I don't agree with them. Nowhere does it tell me to mistreat people because I don't understand them. Nowhere does it say that. On the contrary, it tells me that I should hang out with those people and try to.
Well, Jesus hung out with
Jesus,
prostitutes and
so put it in today's world, he would probably hang out with trans people. He would hang out with bikers. He would hang out with gays. He would hang out with a bunch of people that I don't understand why they live the way that they do. So if that's my goal, if that's what I'm trying to to achieve as a human, who the fuck am I to stop them from doing what they're doing? Do you know what I'm? This is the beautiful thing, is that I'm told not to judge them. I'm told to be better, to spend time with them. If they have questions, I can answer them. If not, just be with them. And I'm the one that's the problem.
Yeah.
When you clearly have a religion that tells you what they stand for.
Yeah.
And yet I'm the problem.
They're not hiding it. And I think on that, we'll probably end. I mean, I keep saying we're going late, but at this point, is it even late? Like, I guess the show's just 2.5
when you're
hours.
Always late.
Maybe it is. All right, guys. Guys, thank you again so much for your interaction. As always, we do this show live just specifically to get this interaction with you guys. We are going to be. Tomorrow might have an announcement to make about some things, but we'll get into that.
And approved, Brett.
Yeah. Oh, it isn't nice. Guys, again, you could have been anywhere in the world today for these 2.5 hours, but you chose to be here with us, and we will always appreciate that. Again, excellent conversation, excellent pushback from Jason, as always. And of course, our regulars they're always there supporting us. And guys, we will check you tomorrow. Remember, this coming Monday, we will do live election coverage. Pencil that into your calendar. And other than that, we will see you tomorrow.
Peace.